Welcome to NTD News Today. Here are today's top stories. Trump is on his first trip since taking office. The president is set to visit hurricane-ravaged North Carolina before traveling to Los Angeles to view the damage caused by the wildfires. President Trump declassifying assassination files. The records contain information surrounding the assassinations of both John and Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr., why he's making the move, and what else is in his new batch of executive orders. ICE agents hit the streets rounding up criminals, including Venezuelan gang members and sex offenders. Today, abortion opponents gather in D.C. for the annual March for Life. This after Republicans on Capitol Hill bring abortion back into the spotlight with a vote on the Born Alive Act. We have the details. Families of hostages in Gaza await news of 4 more set for release this weekend. They thank President Trump and call for more to be set free.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Today is Friday, January 24th. I'm Chris Beers. President Trump signing a new batch of executive orders yesterday, including one to declassify assassination files on John F. Kennedy and Robert F. Kennedy Sr. He's also issuing a blunt message to business leaders around the world. NTD's Iris Tao has the story.
It's day 4 of President Trump's new White House, and he's rolling out new executive orders nonstop. On Thursday, he signed a new executive order to release all records on the assassinations of former President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In the order, Trump says the targets' families and the American people deserve the truth.
A lot of people are waiting for this for years, for decades. And everything will be revealed. Give that to RFK Jr.
Yes, sir.
While most of the files on the assassination of JFK have already been released, President Trump now says it's in the national interest to release any remaining ones. It's another fulfillment of his campaign promise. President Trump also signed a few other executive orders, including one to pardon 23 pro-life advocates arrested while protesting abortion clinics.
They should not have been prosecuted. This is a great honor to sign this.
One to create a new working group on cryptocurrency, and one to establish a council to advise him on new technologies. Meanwhile, speaking earlier at the World Economic Forum in Davos, President Trump sent a message to world economic leaders that America is back and open for business. He says the U.S. is entering an era of reduced regulations and more pro-business policies, but he also doubles down on his tariffs threats and urging businesses to come to the U.S.
Come make your product in America, and we will give you among the lowest taxes of any nation on earth. But if you don't make your product in America, which is your prerogative, then very simply you will have to pay a tariff.
Another main message President Trump sends out is that he wants fairness and respect. He urges NATO members to spend 5% of their GDP on defense. He also criticizes an unfair relationship with China over massive trade deficits.
All we want is fairness. We just want a level playing field. We don't want to take advantage. We've been having massive deficits with China.
And this week, President Trump says he's considering a 10% tariffs on all Chinese goods, that to hold China accountable for its role allowing fentanyl to be flowing into Mexico and Canada and ultimately into the U.S. Reporting from the White House, Iris Tao, NTD News.
President Trump is heading to hurricane-battered western North Carolina and wildfire-ravaged Los Angeles today, using the first trip of his second administration to tour areas where politics has clouded the response to deadly disasters. California Governor Gavin Newsom says he will greet the president at Los Angeles Airport.
I'm grateful, though, that he took our invitation to heart. And that he will be here tomorrow. It's my understanding. I look forward to being there on the tarmac to thank the president, welcome him, and we're making sure that all the resources he needs for a successful briefing are provided to him. There's no limit to the resources we'll provide for that briefing, and as I say, I'm grateful that he appears to be coming out.
Trump has been vocal in his criticism of California, blaming the severity of the fires on improper forestry management. He's also been highly critical of Newsom. The governor appears to be letting those criticisms roll off his back for now. Newsom invited Trump to visit the area, but he says he has not received any communication from the White House about it. Meanwhile, Trump also invited Senator Adam Schiff to join his tour to the Los Angeles area. A spokesperson for Schiff says the Democrat from California, quote, greatly appreciates the offer, but he can't make it because of previously scheduled nomination votes. An official with the Trump administration says the invite was made because the president wants to stay focused on affected communities. Trump will follow the visits with a victory rally in Las Vegas tomorrow. There he plans to start detailing how he can begin keeping a campaign promise to exclude tips from federal taxes. Just ahead of Trump's visit to the state, 5 new fires erupted in Southern California. They broke out yesterday in the counties of Los Angeles, San Diego, Ventura, and Riverside. Meanwhile, firefighters are bringing the Hughes fire under control. And Southern California could receive some much-needed rainfall this weekend, and that could pose challenges of its own. Here's the latest.
Fire crews working day and night managed Thursday to contain the Hughes fire to 24%. The fire broke out Wednesday in the Castaic Lake area about 50 miles northeast of Los Angeles. Around 4,000 firefighters worked tirelessly as strong winds and low humidity stoked the blaze. And they could get some help from the weather this weekend. Forecasters predict rain Saturday afternoon through Monday. It will be a huge relief for Southern California, which has been suffering from prolonged drought for months. The National Weather Service said in its weekend forecast the Los Angeles area could receive half an inch of rain. But the fires have destroyed vegetation, making the soil prone to erosion. The rains could wash away that soil and cause dangerous mudslides. The National Weather Service has said the risk is low, but a landslide in the Pacific Palisades earlier this month already damaged a home that managed to survive the fires. Not to mention the toxic ash left behind after the fires burned through neighborhoods. Lead, asbestos, and other harmful substances could be carried by rainwater and find their way to the oceans and other water bodies. Meanwhile, another fire broke out in a remote area of the Otay Mountains Thursday that evening. CAL FIRE said it has scorched around 230 acres and remained completely uncontained. California Governor Gavin Newsom Thursday signed off on a $2.5 billion relief package to help the Los Angeles area recover.
With that, I'm honored, thank you, to sign these 2 bills appropriating $2.5 billion effective immediately to the communities impacted by these wildfires. Thank you all very much for all your hard work.
It covers response efforts like evacuation and shelter and removal of hazardous waste, as well as funds for local governments to speed up the rebuilding of homes and to help rebuild schools. But a group called Saving California launched a campaign Thursday to remove Newsom as governor. The group's chair told the Epoch Times California can't afford another 2 years of Newsom. They are citing what they describe as gross mismanagement during the fires, as well as high crime rates, a rise in the cost of living, homelessness, and illegal immigration. Newsom's team responded to the campaign, saying Newsom is focused on the fires and marshaling resources for recovery, not politics, while also pointing to multiple failed attempts in the past to remove Newsom from office by the same group. Meanwhile, a reality TV couple is suing the city of Los Angeles after their home in the Pacific Palisades burned down. Heidi Montag and Spencer Pratt rose to stardom on the show The Hills. In their lawsuit filed earlier this week, they and 20 other homeowners blame LA and its water department for water issues that hampered firefighting efforts. Governor Newsom has called for an independent investigation into the LA water utility over issues like hydrants running dry and low water pressure.
Meanwhile, in other parts of the country, a winter storm is bringing freezing temperatures. The National Weather Service has issued winter weather warnings in 6 states, predicting up to 14 inches of snow in some places. In New York, the Hudson River turned to ice when the mercury dipped to 20 degrees yesterday. Forecasters are also warning of cold weather in Alaska, Montana, Wyoming, Michigan, and North Carolina. The U.S. Postal Service has said severe weather is impacting their delivery across large parts of the country. The delays could impact more than 200 million people. Next, a judge blocked President Trump's plan to end automatic citizenship for anyone born in the U.S. That's as Republicans aim to turn it into the law of the land. The birthright battle is now heating up. Here's the story.
To hear the judge from the bench say that in his 40 years as a judge, he has never seen something so blatantly unconstitutional.
Federal Judge John Kulner temporarily blocks President Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship for the children of illegal immigrants. Birthright citizenship generally means anyone born in the United States is automatically a U.S. citizen, largely seen as part of the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Washington State Attorney General Nick Brown says the amendment would have to be changed to end birthright citizenship.
Not even the President of the United States can simply erase what it means to amend the Constitution and the process therein.
Changing a constitutional amendment would be extremely difficult, but Republicans don't think they have to. Republican Brian Babbitt has introduced a bill to end birthright citizenship.
Citizenship will be granted only to children born in the United States with at least one parent who is, 1, a U.S. citizen or national, number 2, a lawful permanent resident, and number 3, a lawful resident who is serving in the military.
Republicans believe the 14th Amendment doesn't automatically give citizenship to anyone born in the U.S. The amendment says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. Republicans point specifically to the requirement, subject to the jurisdiction thereof.
A person in the United States illegally are not subject to the jurisdiction thereof, because that's what the 14th Amendment says. They got no Social Security number. They got no voter registration.
Republicans say they're confident their interpretation will win in court.
A lot of lower courts have to look at him, disagree, and then they're filed with the U.S. Supreme Court in order to make a decision. So, I mean, it could be upwards to a year. Who really knows?
Immigration lawyer Rosanna Berardi says she believes immigrants don't have to worry at the moment. She says there will be a long period of political banter.
Clients are worried. We're getting a lot of phone calls. People don't know what's going to happen. They're worried about their applications. They're worried about traveling.
Hundreds of protesters gathered in Los Angeles and Las Vegas to protest ending birthright citizenship.
It's a very scary time with this new administration, and I want to make sure that our immigrant community, our Latino community, that everybody knows that they're not alone.
Protesters say many are scared of Trump's policies and that they hope the power of the people will stop them.
Trump reacted to the judge's ruling, saying he would appeal. Here he is speaking to reporters at the White House yesterday.
No, obviously we'll appeal it. They put it before a certain judge in Seattle, I guess, right? And there's no surprises with that judge.
Earlier today, Trump's Justice Department said yesterday it would vigorously defend the executive order. A spokesperson said, quote, "We look forward to presenting a full merits argument to the court and to the American people who are desperate to see our nation's laws enforced." Is the EU singling out U.S. tech firms? President Trump calls the costly EU lawsuits against firms like Google and Meta a form of taxation. And today, abortion opponents gather in D.C. for the annual March for Life. This after Republicans on Capitol Hill bring abortion back into the spotlight with a vote on the Born Alive Act. We have the details and more coming up. Welcome back. Are U.S. tech firms being unfairly targeted by the European Union? President Trump is calling out recent EU lawsuits against American companies like Apple and Google. Here's Trump speaking to Davos.
They took court cases with Apple, and they supposedly won a case that most people didn't think was much of a case. They won 15 or 16 billion from Apple. They won billions from Google. I think they're after Facebook for billions and billions. These are American companies, whether you like them or not. They're American companies, and they shouldn't be doing that. And that's, as far as I'm concerned, it's a form of taxation.
Joining me now to discuss is Patrick Hedger, Director of Policy at NetChoice, a trade association for online businesses whose members include Amazon, Google, and Meta. Thank you so much for joining us, Patrick. You just heard Trump calling the costly EU lawsuits against American technology firms a form of taxation. How does NetChoice view these lawsuits?
Yeah, absolutely. They are definitely a form of taxation because ultimately the costs that are incurred by the companies in these lawsuits are passed on to consumers, and they're passed on to their consumers in a global market. What's also interesting about some of the laws that we see in the European Union is that they are specifically designed to only target firms of the same size that you see of US firms, right? So the major technology companies in the world, they're almost exclusively American companies that are in attainment with these laws that the European Union is bringing actions under. And some of the penalties under these laws are going after global revenue, not just revenue that these companies make in the European Union. So it's hard to see it as anything other than trying to tax citizens of other countries.
So talk us through the examples of these EU lawsuits that Trump gave. Refresh our memory.
Yeah, so there are some cases generally about self-preferencing. There are cases about the kinds of content that these companies are displaying. And in a lot of these cases, these companies are doing things that are not illegal under US law. But the European Union has written regulations in a way to capture what had previously been lawful conduct by these companies. And therefore, they are able to extract these fines from these companies basically based on outlawing their pre-existing business models, trying to essentially regulate the search results in Google, for example, and going after Google for listing some of its own products and services first, such as when you're looking for a map feature and Google displays its map feature. So you have essentially what the European Union is trying to do is micromanage how these products and services work.
So I'm trying to understand exactly how these companies are now trying to change their situation based on these regulations. Are they able to fit in? Are they able to adapt to the regulations, or are they just going to continue to be fined and sued?
Yes, what we are seeing is that, to use a phrase that I've recently heard, a digital curtain is sort of falling over Europe. Where these companies are no longer offering cutting edge new products and services within the European Union. You've seen examples of new AI products because the European Union has a heavy handed new AI law not being offered in the European Union, but otherwise being offered globally in US markets and elsewhere. And you're also seeing companies not offering products and services that European citizens are used to have available. So you've seen complaints after the European Union has put in place laws like the Digital Markets Act and the Digital Services Act, where Europeans are now wondering, well, where did Google Maps go all of a sudden? Where did these other services that I was used to being able to quickly access go? So you're seeing Europe is essentially kind of been firewalled off from the way these services work in a lot of other countries.
And what about European tech firms? Are they able to adapt? Are they facing similar types of pressure? I mean, you sort of touched on this earlier.
Yeah, and this gets at really what's so unfair about these laws and why President Trump is calling them out is because the European Union doesn't have any tech firms of any sort of relevant or comparable size compared to the ones that are in attainment with these laws. The laws are usually looking at things like the size, global revenue, looking at number of users and market capitalization of these firms. And there are simply no firms within the European Union that are large enough to have to comply with these laws. And so that really makes it seem extremely unfair. And it's also a sign that the European Union's heavy-handed regulatory state is smothering companies before they can even reach any type of scale. And you would expect the European Union, which at about the turn of the century had a market about the size of the United States, to have some type of global large tech sector, and they simply don't.
Yeah, it's interesting. I come to think of it, I don't use any European apps or any big ones that I'm aware of. How does Europe's regulatory environment for tech companies compare to that of the United States?
So traditionally in the United States, we have an approach that's called permissionless innovation. You face regulation if problems arise, but governments don't try to micromanage products and services before they can reach scale. In the European Union, you have the opposite. And a perfect example is the European Union's recent AI Act. AI is really in the Model T phase of its technological development right now. It's at its very earliest stage, and the European Union passed a very comprehensive, far-reaching set of regulations to try and regulate every possible expected outcome or use case of AI. And frankly, we just don't know those things yet. And so the European Union is sort of a mother may I or permission first innovation model, which doesn't produce a lot of innovation.
Now, Trump has proposed to increase tariffs on Europe. Could tariffs somehow bring the EU to change its regulations in this regard?
So I wouldn't leave any tools on the sidelines in this case. What we're seeing right now is really the European Union itself engaged in a form of protectionism. A lot of the fines that they levy against American companies are then turned around and used to try and invest in European startups. So I think it would be wise for President Trump to pursue any and all options here because this is essentially a digital trade war that the European Union has declared.
And what action would you like to see from President Trump to address this?
Yeah, so I think it would be good to get the Europeans to the table and explain the situation and make clear that the European Union is falling behind in terms of having the cutting edge products and services that American consumers have. And so I think what he's doing so far, having the bully pulpit as well and explaining the situation is a great first step. But putting pressure on the European Union and maybe trying to strike a broader trade deal where you have fair treatment of digital services across international borders would be a good way to go.
All right, just in closing here, Patrick, how are NetChoice members feeling about the Trump administration in terms of regulation reform for tech companies in the U.S., looking forward from everything we've seen so far this week and what we've heard before he took office?
Well, it's certainly harder to be worse than the Biden administration. And so there's a sense of optimism broadly in the tech space. I think that was really well reflected in yesterday's announcement about $500 billion being invested by a joint venture related to AI infrastructure and energy. So there's a broad sense of optimism within the tech space that the Trump administration will be a significant improvement over the previous administration. And already just seeing that the Trump administration is willing to go to bat for American companies against European companies, or excuse me, against the European Union, whereas the Biden administration actually used to cooperate with the European Union in trying to impose some of the European Union's tech regulations. There were examples of the Department of Justice and Federal Trade Commission actually cooperating with European Union regulators to punish American tech companies. And we're hopeful that the Trump administration will put a quick stop to that.
Yeah, it does seem to be a 180 in that area. And like we're seeing these 180s in so many different areas with the new Trump administration. Patrick Hedger, Director of Policy at NetChoice, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on, ICE reports nearly 540 arrests and the detention of over 370 illegal immigrants in sanctuary cities across the United States. NTD's Daniel Monahan covers this, along with the latest on the Laken-Riley Act.
As I just talked about. White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt shared on X that the Trump administration arrested 538, quote, illegal immigrant criminals, including members of the Venezuelan prison gang Tren de Aragua and individuals convicted of sex crimes against minors. She also highlighted that hundreds of these criminals were deported using military aircraft, calling it the largest massive deportation operation in history, with the tagline, "Promises made, promises kept." Meanwhile, ICE agents conducted a raid at a Newark, New Jersey worksite on Thursday. Newark's Mayor Ras Baraka, a strong advocate for sanctuary policies, condemned the operation, claiming it violated citizens' rights. With rising concerns over crimes committed by illegal immigrants, the Laken-Riley Act, aimed at addressing such offenses, is headed to President Trump for signing. The bill was signed by Speaker Mike Johnson on Thursday.
They want us to address the human catastrophe that has come from the broken, wide-open border that Biden, Harris, Mayorkas, and the team did for the country. And we are so grateful. We have a new commander-in-chief, a new sheriff in town.
The bill requires the detention of illegal immigrants arrested for burglary, theft, larceny, or shoplifting. It was authored by Congressman Mike Collins.
A young lady, 22 years old, was heinously murdered for no reason, and it shouldn't have happened. The system failed. It failed Laken Riley.
Laken Riley was a Georgia college student when she was murdered by an illegal immigrant with a criminal record.
Jose Ibarra was actually cited in New York City for endangering a minor. He picked up his trade and he moved down to Athens, Georgia. A week before he murdered Laken, he was picked up, cited for shoplifting. Now, if the Laken Riley Act would have been in place, this murder would have never been happened.
Meanwhile, dozens of illegal immigrants were returned to Mexico on Thursday to the border town of Ciudad Juarez.
There are I.C.E. agents everywhere, and everyone is getting caught. I don't recommend crossing.
The border has quieted down since Trump took office. San Diego, the busiest corridor for illegal border crossings over much of the last year, has seen traffic slow dramatically. Instead of quickly releasing asylum seekers who turn themselves in, Border Patrol agents are spending their shifts trying to find people who want to elude capture. Here, 3 Chinese men and 1 Malaysian man made their way through a gap in the border wall and were taken into custody by agents. With growing action from ICE and the passage of the Laken Riley Act, the push for stronger immigration laws is materializing under the Trump administration. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
As pro-life advocates rally in D.C. today, Republicans on Capitol Hill are bringing abortion back into the spotlight. The House passes the Born Alive Act as Senate Democrats block it. NTD's Melina Weiskup has the story.
A bill to require healthcare providers to try to save the lives of babies who are born alive during an abortion attempt. It passed on a near party line vote, 216 Republicans and 1 Democrat, Henry Cuellar from Texas, voting yes.
If a child is born alive during an attempted abortion and is crying and struggling to breathe on the operating table, should the doctor try to keep that child alive? Or should the doctor deny that crying newborn child medical care?
However, Democrats say it's a non-issue, calling the bill a Reproductive Surveillance Act.
Babies born alive are not killed by abortions after birth. It is a bill to wedge the government between couples and their doctor when faced with incredibly difficult decisions.
The CDC writes that between 2003 and 2014, at least 143 babies died after being born alive.
Democrats in the Senate have already shot the bill down, blocking a vote to end debate and kickstart a vote on the Born Alive bill. The congressional action comes as thousands of pro-life advocates flood Washington, D.C. for the annual March for Life. President Trump's first act on the issue was to pardon 10 anti-abortion protesters. In 2020, they blocked a Washington abortion clinic by linking themselves together with locks and chains. Trump will speak to the March for Life crowd later today by video, and Vice President J.D. Vance is expected to appear in person. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
The Senate confirms Trump's second cabinet pick and tees up potential weekend votes. Our Washington correspondent Luis Martinez has the latest on the confirmation process for Trump's cabinet nominees.
This Thursday, the Senate's respective committees approved the nominations of Lee Selden to be the next director of the EPA, Chris Wright to be the next Secretary of Energy, and Doug Burgum to be the next Secretary of Interior. All 3 nominations will now move to the Senate floor for a full vote. Democrats opposed in committee all 3 nominations, citing concerns over Project 2025 and abortion.
Among my concerns, overturning VA's interim final rule on abortion and further privatizing of the VA care.
Mr. Vogt is the godfather of the ultra-right.
Despite opposition from Democrats this Thursday, the Senate confirmed John Ratcliffe to be the next director of the CIA. Mr. Ratcliffe, during his confirmation hearings, vowed to increase the CIA's covert operations targeting Chinese Communist Party officials.
We will produce insightful, objective, all-source analysis, never allowing political or personal biases to cloud our judgment or infect our products. We will conduct covert action at the direction of the president, going places no one else can go and doing things no one else can do.
I, John Ratcliffe, Shortly after being confirmed on the Senate floor, John Ratcliffe was sworn in as the new director of the CIA. Senate Majority Leader John Thune has now teed up Pete Hegseth to be the next nominee to receive a full vote on the Senate floor. Democrats have vowed to oppose the nomination of Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense, citing allegations of excessive drinking and sexual abuse. Pete Hegseth's nomination passed a procedural vote on Thursday on party lines. Senators Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins were Republican defectors.
But unless I can point to specific, firsthand, corroborated testimony, I'm not going to cave to pressure. I'm going to vote for his confirmation.
This is just the Democrats doing what they're doing. They're obstructing Trump putting together a team. Trump won the election. He won the electoral vote. He won the popular vote. He needs to be able to put his team together, and the Democrats are being obstructions.
This Thursday, Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski from Alaska published a statement indicating that she would vote against the confirmation of Pete Hegseth to be the next Secretary of Defense. Lisa Murkowski cited sexual abuse allegations and excessive drinking allegations for her reasoning to vote against Peter Hegseth. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
Next, President Trump pardoned him. Now he's speaking out. Ross Ulbricht, the man behind the Silk Road marketplace, was serving a double life sentence before President Trump set him free.
Last night, Donald Trump granted me a full pardon. I was doing life without parole, and I was locked up for more than 11 years. But he let me out. I'm a free man now. So let it be known that Donald Trump is a man of his word. Thank you so much, President Trump, for giving me this amazing blessing.
Ulbricht ran the dark web platform Silk Road. Users could buy and sell things on it using Bitcoin, including illegal narcotics. He was serving a double life sentence in a high-security Arizona prison. He praised the pardon as a win for the fight for freedom. Ulbricht continues to gain support during his time behind bars, especially from the cryptocurrency and libertarian communities. Trump said he pardoned Ulbricht because of his harsh sentence and to honor Ulbricht's mother and the libertarian movement. Trump had promised to free him last May. Next, the Associated Press has said it will start calling North America's tallest mountain Mount McKinley. This is following President Trump's executive order to bring back Denali's previous official name. The AP's Vice President of Standards and Inclusion said yesterday the news agency would follow some of Trump's name changes, but not all. In particular, they will not officially call the body of water of the U.S.'s southern coast the Gulf of America. They will continue to use the name Gulf of Mexico, although they will acknowledge Trump's new name, the Gulf of America. Many organizations are pondering the decision to use new names. Google Maps and Apple Maps haven't yet made the changes. In response to a request for comment, National Geographic said it will not talk about individual cases, but a statement on its website says the organization strives to be apolitical, consult multiple authoritative sources, and make individual decisions based on extensive research. A third term for President Trump? Well, that's what Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles is hoping for. He proposed an amendment to the Constitution yesterday, allowing Trump to serve another term in the White House. He says Trump is needed for the country to sustain the, quote, bold leadership our nation so desperately needs, unquote. Currently, Trump is barred from running for a third term in the White House by the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution. Trump joked about the prospect of running for a third term before during a meeting with House GOP lawmakers. When we come back, President Trump calls tariffs on China a tremendous power and speaks about his relationships with Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un. Highlights from the latest interview. And families of hostages in Gaza await news of 4 more set for release this weekend. They thank President Trump and call for more to be set free.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste, and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth, without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now, Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one get one free offer goes away.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. We'd never make a separate dinner. And never do that. We'd never let them sleep in our room. And never become a minivan mom. Hey, Chris. Okay, well, I'm not at my desk right now. As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Thanks for staying with us. President Trump said he would rather not impose tariffs on China, but referred to the option as a tremendous power. Trump spoke about his relationship with China's communist leader Xi Jinping and also talked about North Korea's Kim Jong-un, speaking on Fox News.
But we have one very big power over China, and that's tariffs. And they don't want them, and I'd rather not have to use it. But it's a tremendous power over China. China gets a lot of its money from the United States. They use that money to build the military. Isn't it crazy? It was a good, friendly conversation. I had a great relationship with him prior to COVID. I had a very good relationship with him. I thought it was a very good conversation. We've had other communication before that. They are a very ambitious country. He's a very ambitious man. He happens to be a smart guy. Kim Jong-un is a smart guy.
Trump said he plans to reach out to the North Korean leader. This after the two men developed a working relationship during Trump's first term. On Russia, the president warned of potential tariffs unless it reaches a settlement with Ukraine. Trump accused Russia of stealing U.S. hypersonic missile plans during the Obama administration, but said the U.S. is now developing super hypersonic missiles. On Iran, Trump called it a dangerous religious situation distinct from China and Russia. Going back to China, Trump said he thinks he can reach a trade deal with the communist nation. Since taking office, Trump has spoken about a 10% punitive duty on Chinese imports. The president says fentanyl is being sent from China to the U.S. via Mexico and Canada. However, he did not immediately impose tariffs as he had promised during his election campaign. Some analysts say the move signals the possibility of a renewed relationship.
So 10% won't really lead to anything outside, any supply chains moving outside of China, partly because China has already done a lot of de-risking in the last 6-7 years because of the trade war. So Chinese supply chains are actually much more resilient than American supply chains at this point.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio is heading to Central America next week. It comes as the Trump administration is working to stem illegal immigration and Chinese Communist Party influence in the region. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley has more from the State Department.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio will travel to Central America and the Caribbean next week as his first trip abroad as top U.S. diplomat. Now, Rubio is expected to meet with leaders in Panama, Guatemala, El Salvador, and the Dominican Republic. Now, this comes as President Trump has said that he wants the U.S. to take back control of the Panama Canal, one of the world's most critical waterway trade routes. The U.S. government built and operated the canal in the early 20th century, and under President Jimmy Carter, control of this waterway was handed over to the Panamanian government. Trump reiterated during his inauguration speech that Chinese entities related to the Chinese Communist Party are now operating the canal.
We have been treated very badly from this foolish gift that should have never been made, and Panama's promise to us has been broken. The purpose of our deal and the spirit of our treaty has been totally violated. American ships are being severely overcharged and not treated fairly in any way, shape, or form, and that includes the United States Navy. And above all, China is operating the Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China, we gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
Secretary Rubio has repeatedly said and reiterated during his confirmation hearing that the Chinese Communist Party is America's biggest adversary. After that hearing, he received unanimous support from the Senate.
The Communist Party of China leads the PRC, is the most potent and dangerous near-peer adversary this nation has ever confronted. They have elements that the Soviet Union never possessed.
Rubio's trip comes as President Trump has made ending mass illegal immigration to the U.S. as a top priority. Many illegal immigrants in the U.S. pass through the Darien Gap, then Panama, making their way up through the southern border. Now, Rubio is likely to discuss this in meetings in Panama. Last year, the U.S. and Panamanian governments signed an agreement to stem the tide of illegal immigration along the Darien Gap. Reporting from the State Department, Jack Bradley, NTD News.
Now the latest in the TikTok saga. Billionaire Frank McCourt says he is open to teaming up on a bid for the platform.
Well, the bid we put in was for all of U.S. TikTok without the Chinese technology. If, as things evolve, there are other financial arrangements, we don't need to own 100% of TikTok. The ownership is different than control, however. I don't see any scenario where the Chinese government or ByteDance is going to have any control or influence over TikTok.
McCourt made the suggestion yesterday during the World Economic Forum at Davos. McCourt has said the most appealing assets of TikTok are its users, data, and the brand. His bid does not include buying the algorithm for TikTok's recommendation system, which is at the heart of the app. Now to the latest on the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Families of hostages held in Gaza are waiting to hear the names of 4 more set for release this weekend. They thanked President Trump and called on him to continue diplomatic efforts until all those held in Gaza are released.
Dear President Trump, first of all, we want to say thank you for the happy moments we felt this week.
We are waiting to hear the 4 names of the girls that are going to be released today. This is actually a mixed feeling this morning because 4 girls are going to be home, united with their families, and I'm going to be here waiting for my son, who is not in the first stage.
I want to say something to President Trump. If he listen and should listen to this, if you want to bring the United States great again, please rectify this ceasefire. It was on your behalf, it was your responsibility.
Hamas says the next group of hostages will be released on Saturday. In return, Israel will release Palestinian prisoners and detainees. Hamas is set to release 33 hostages over the coming weeks. The deal is part of a complex ceasefire deal reached with Israel this month. The agreement outlines a 6-week initial ceasefire phase. It includes the gradual withdrawal of Israeli forces from the Gaza Strip. Next, Delta Airlines will soon resume service from the United States to Israel. The carrier announced yesterday that daily direct flights from New York's JFK Airport to Tel Aviv will begin in April. Delta paused service for several months following the Hamas terror attack in 2023. Flights were again halted last October due to fighting between Israel and Iran-backed Hezbollah terrorists in Lebanon. Delta said its decision to resume the flight comes after a comprehensive security review. When we come back, after a round of cold weather and heavy snow, people in Louisiana are sitting down to enjoy a warm bowl of gumbo, a favorite among residents in the area. Stay tuned.
Lasted 5,000 years was once almost lost. Now, the world awaits the divine culture's return. Discover the ancient secret to vitality and longevity with Puretang Black Ginseng. Crafted from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng, each root is carefully nurtured for over 2,260 days, undergoing a traditional 9-round handcrafted process of steaming and drying to unlock full potency and absorption. Experience pure, natural energy with Puretang Black Ginseng. Order now at puretang.com.
Hi friends, Richard Karn here. Now I'm known as the guy who can fix just about anything, but the technology in most appliances requires very special training to fix. My point is, even I know when I've met my match, and that's why my family has Choice Home Warranty. So we won't get stuck with high-priced repairs.
Choice Home Warranty covers over 25 major home systems and appliances. That's your AC, heating, plumbing, kitchen and laundry appliances, and so much more.
Imagine for less than a cup of coffee a day, Choice Home Warranty can help protect you from expensive major system and appliance breakdowns that your homeowner's insurance doesn't cover. But you have to call now before it's too late.
Every homeowner should have Choice Home Warranty. Your homeowner's insurance is not going to cover your appliances.
Washing machine, dryer, refrigerator, air condition. If I had any issues arise, they were able to take care of it immediately.
Now, homeowner's insurance won't protect you when your home's major systems and appliances break down due to normal wear and tear. But Choice Home Warranty will. They can help cover repairs and replacements.
Choice Home Warranty is the best warranty we've ever used. It would save you so much money in the long run.
Hey, I'm not the only one raving about Choice Home Warranty. They were named a Best Home Warranty Company and Best Claim Service by U.S. News 360 Reviews.
Call Choice Home Warranty now and get access to a nationwide network of over 15,000 technicians and the latest appointment setting technology so you'll know when they're on their way.
If I have an issue with an appliance or something around the house, I just call up Choice Home Warranty and I don't have to worry about that.
So, do what this old DIYer did and call Choice Home Warranty now before something breaks down. Tell them I sent you and get your first month free.
Call Choice Home Warranty before it's too late and get protection for your heating, AC, plumbing, kitchen and laundry appliances, and more. Call for your free quote today. Call in the next 5 minutes and get your first month free. 800-360-6782. 800-360-6782.
Welcome back to NTD. All across the Deep South, temperatures dropped as a winter storm blew across the country. Some areas in New Orleans saw up to 10 inches of snow, leaving some Louisiana residents turning to their favorite dish for comfort, gumbo.
It's cold outside. That's whenever customers start coming in for the gumbo. During the summertime, not so much. We scoop the roux in there, and then 2 buckets of hot water, and then we boil that down and sift it, make sure it's real smooth. And then once that's done and it comes to a boil, then you add your hot sauce, your kitchen bouquet, your salt, your chicken base, and then once that comes to a boil, you add your sausage and your chicken and just let it boil for about an hour and a half.
We have been craving gumbo because it's New Orleans. It's a New Orleans thing, totally, Louisiana. And so we came up here and we were like, this is the first thing we did. When we left the house after 4 days, we came to get gumbo and red beans and rice.
Well, if you have never had gumbo before, I highly recommend it. Although there is a traditional way of making gumbo, there are a number of different varieties, including seafood gumbo, that can change the texture and flavor. Next, an Italian pilot has pushed himself to the limit once again. Red Bull Air Race pilot Dario Costa successfully pulled off a daring flight down the slopes of a ski run in Austria. Watch.
Flying the Streif was the second most challenging thing I've ever done after a tunnel pass. It's so steep, it's so tight, everything is so close, and you have to bear in mind that you also have a couple of obstacles you have to fly through.
Amazing. Costa reached a top speed of over 215 miles per hour in his plane. This as he navigated down one of the most challenging downhill skiing courses in the world. The Streif ski run is over 3,000 yards long. It features a nearly 3,000-foot elevation drop from the start gate. Costa flew as close to the course as possible. He also had trouble with perception due to the white snow. Next, the source of one of the fiercest debates in the culinary world: pineapple on pizza. One pizzeria in the English city of Norwich is declaring war on the controversial topping. They're charging £100, over $100 for a Hawaiian pizza, to discourage customers. Take a look.
An English pizzeria in Norwich City has declared a war on pineapples. The owners are so revolted by the topping that they're charging customers $123 for a Hawaiian. The delivery menu says, yeah, for £100 you can have it. Order the champagne too. Go on, you monster. Lupa Pizza co-owner Francis Wolfe said this protest against the ham and pineapple pizza, which has made headlines, started as a joke.
We very much, I would say vehemently, dislike pineapple on pizza. I mean, we feel like it doesn't suit pizza at all, and we're not really sure why it's a thing. People really, really want it, then they should stick their hands in their pockets and fork out 100 quid for it.
Fellow co-owner and head chef Quinn Gianoran hopes someone will buy it.
Well, we have a security jar, which is locked away, far, far away, of tinned pineapple, if someone does order the £100 pizza. And we haven't sold any yet, for obvious reasons.
A 2024 survey by pollsters YouGov showed that over 50% of Britons like pineapple on pizza, while 16% disliked it and nearly 20% hated it. And as pizza has become popular globally, foreign innovations in toppings have often left Italians perplexed and aghast. Ivan Triola is an Italian customer at Lupa.
I would never pay £100 for any pizza ever, to be honest, but especially not for pineapple and pizza. I'm also actually Italian, from Naples, and we would never do that, to be honest.
However, customers were divided, with some saying they weren't against the topping, just on this occasion, the price.
Well, maybe half of our UK audience will stop watching us because of what I'm about to say, but I love Hawaiian pizza. Pineapple's so tasty. Next, for breaking news and special reports, tune in to NTD. Watch us live at ntd.com/live. Stay with us, and we'll bring you more.
我们师傅讲过，过去武术的身法，以上阵的，你要是身法你保持好了，你就失去了生命。
Are today's mainstream martial arts not traditional martial arts?
现在有些人他学说传统武术，他尤其是西方人，他不懂。为什么要比拼大赛呢？因为西洋人他就是要提倡传统武术， 复兴中华5000年的传统文化。传统武术，真正的传统武术是讲武德的。我相信有一点，就是守住武德，就有人教。
Just like all of you, I had problems sleeping. I had tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. I'd flip-flop all night, use my arm for support, and fall asleep, or I'd wake up with a sore neck or maybe a headache. Well, quality sleep comes from keeping your neck straight at night. You have to fill in that space between your head and your bed. That's why I invented My Pillow. My Pillow's patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs, and it doesn't matter if you sleep on your back, stomach, side, or any combination of all three.
When I got My Pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night, and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get Classic King My Pillows for only $19.98. Queen size just $18.98. Standard Classic My Pillows only $14.98. That's right, only $14.98. Plus all orders $75 or more ship absolutely free.
Hate is loud. It gets clicks. It gets attention. Hate, however, is actually quite small. But love is the majority. Filling up something far more important than any feed. Love fills our hearts, our lives, our every day with understanding, empathy, and compassion. Leaving hate to become what it truly is, a whisper.
Welcome to NTD News Today. Here are today's top stories. Trump is on his first trip since taking office. The president is visiting hurricane-ravaged North Carolina before traveling to Los Angeles to view the damage caused by the wildfires. Trump will deliver a virtual address at the annual March for Life. More on what his administration is doing for abortion opponents. The White House says deportation flights have already taken off. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt posts photos of military aircraft on X.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good morning. Today is Friday, January 24th. I'm Don Ma, starting this hour with the latest moves by the Trump administration. President Trump is shrugging off Elon Musk's posts on X, undercutting his AI announcement.
Mr. President, does it bother you that Elon Musk criticized a deal that you made publicly, that he said that he tweeted that?
No, it doesn't. He hates one of the people in the deals.
Have you spoken to him since then?
No, I've spoken to Elon, but I've spoken to all of them, actually. No, the people in the deal are very, very smart people. But Elon, one of the people he happens to hate, but I have certain hatreds of people too.
Trump on Tuesday announced a new massive $500 billion AI infrastructure investment between OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank. Shortly after, in a post on X, Musk cast doubt that any of the participating companies had the money to fund the project. Following the post, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman and Musk traded barbs on the platform. Meanwhile, Trump said he's open to hosting at the White House some of the January 6 defendants he pardoned.
I don't know. I'm sure that they probably would like to. I did them something important, but what they did is they were protesting a crooked election. And, you know, I mean, people understand that also. And they were treated very badly. Nobody's been treated like that. So I'd be open to it, certainly. I don't know of anything like that, but I think they're going to meet in some of the congressmen, women.
And later this morning, Trump will virtually address the annual March for Life rally in Washington, D.C. Vice President J.D. Vance will attend the event in person. It'll be Vance's first public appearance in his new role. Yesterday, the president signed an executive order pardoning 23 pro-life protesters. Some of them were accused of blocking an abortion clinic in Washington, D.C. in 2021. Trump said the protesters were treated unjustly and that what happened to them was disgraceful. President Trump is heading to hurricane-battered western North Carolina and also visiting Los Angeles today. California Governor Gavin Newsom said he will greet the president at Los Angeles Airport.
I'm grateful, though, that he took our invitation to heart and that he will be here tomorrow. It's my understanding. I look forward to being there on the tarmac to thank the president, welcome him, and we're making sure that all the resources he needs for a successful briefing are provided to him. There's no limit to the resources we'll provide for that briefing, and as I say, I'm grateful that he appears to be coming out.
Trump has been vocal in his criticism of California, blaming the severity of the fires on improper forestry management. He's also been highly critical of Newsom as well. The governor appears to be disregarding those criticisms for now, at least. Newsom invited Trump to visit the area, but he says he has not received any communication from the White House about it. Trump will follow the visits with the victory rally in Las Vegas tomorrow. There, he plans to start detailing how he can begin keeping a campaign promise to exclude tips from federal taxes. And just ahead of Trump's visit to the state, 5 new fires erupted in Southern California. They broke out yesterday in the counties of Los Angeles, San Diego, Ventura, and Riverside. Meanwhile, firefighters are bringing the Hughes fire under control. And Southern California could receive some much-needed rainfall this weekend, and that could pose challenges of its own. Here's the latest.
Fire crews working day and night managed Thursday to contain the Hughes fire to 24%. The fire broke out Wednesday in the Castaic Lake area about 50 miles northeast of Los Angeles. Around 4,000 firefighters worked tirelessly as strong winds and low humidity stoked the blaze. And they could get some help from the weather this weekend. Forecasters predict rain Saturday afternoon through Monday. It will be a huge relief for Southern California, which has been suffering from prolonged drought for months. The National Weather Service said in its weekend forecast the Los Angeles area could receive half an inch of rain. But the fires have destroyed vegetation, making the soil prone to erosion. The rains could wash away that soil and cause dangerous mudslides. The National Weather Service has said the risk is low, but a landslide in the Pacific Palisades earlier this month already damaged a home that managed to survive the fires. Not to mention the toxic ash left behind after the fires burned through neighborhoods. Lead, asbestos, and other harmful substances could be carried by rainwater and find their way to the oceans and other water bodies. Meanwhile, another fire broke out in a remote area of the Otay Mountains Thursday that evening. CAL FIRE said it has scorched around 230 acres and remained completely uncontained. California Governor Gavin Newsom Thursday signed off on a $2.5 billion relief package to help the Los Angeles area recover.
With that, I'm honored, thank you, to sign these 2 bills appropriating $2.5 billion effective immediately to the communities impacted by these wildfires. Thank you all very much for all your hard work.
It covers response efforts like evacuation and shelter and removal of hazardous waste, as well as funds for local governments to speed up the rebuilding of homes and to help rebuild schools. But a group called Saving California launched a campaign Thursday to remove Newsom as governor. The group's chair told the Epoch Times California can't afford another 2 years of Newsom. They are citing what they describe as gross mismanagement during the fires, as well as high crime rates, a rise in the cost of living, homelessness, and illegal immigration. Newsom's team responded to the campaign, saying Newsom is focused on the fires and marshaling resources for recovery, not politics, while also pointing to multiple failed attempts in the past to remove Newsom from office by the same group. Meanwhile, a reality TV couple is suing the city of Los Angeles after their home in the Pacific Palisades burned down. Heidi Montag and Spencer Pratt rose to stardom on the show The Hills. In their lawsuit filed earlier this week, they and 20 other homeowners blame LA and its water department for water issues that hampered firefighting efforts. Governor Newsom has called for an independent investigation into the LA water utility over issues like hydrants running dry and low water pressure.
Meanwhile, in other parts of the country, a winter storm is bringing freezing temperatures. The National Weather Service has issued winter weather warnings in 6 states, predicting up to 14 inches of snow in some places. In New York, the Hudson River turned to ice when the mercury dipped to 20 degrees yesterday. Forecasters are also warning of cold weather in Alaska, Montana, Wyoming, Michigan, and North Carolina. The U.S. Postal Service has said severe weather is impacting their delivery across large parts of the country. The delays could impact more than 200 million people. President Trump said he would rather not impose tariffs on China, but referred to the option as a tremendous power. Trump spoke about his relationship with China's communist leader Xi Jinping and also talked about North Korea's Kim Jong-un, speaking on Fox News.
But we have one very big power over China, and that's tariffs. And they don't want them, and I'd rather not have to use it. But it's a tremendous power over China. China gets a lot of its money from the United States. They use that money to build a military. Isn't it crazy? It was a good, friendly conversation. I had a great relationship with him prior to COVID. I had a very good relationship with him. I thought it was a very good conversation. We've had other communication before that. They are a very ambitious country. He's a very ambitious man. He happens to be a smart guy. Kim Jong-un is a smart guy.
And this is just in. President Trump has arrived at Asheville, North Carolina as the state rebuilds from Hurricane Helene. Take a look.
The governor takes care of it. When Florida gets hit, the governor takes care of it, meaning the state takes care of it. You have a group of people come in from an area that don't even know where they're going in order to solve immediately a problem is something that never worked for me. But this is probably one of the best examples of it not working. And there's been some others, like in Louisiana, etc. So we're going to be doing something on FEMA that I think most people agree. I'd like to see the states take care of disasters. Let the state take care of the tornadoes and the hurricanes and all of the other things that happen. And I think you're going to find it a lot less expensive. You'll do it for less than half, and you're going to get a lot quicker response. So that seems to be the recommendation, but we'll be making that recommendation over the next couple of weeks. We're going to go to the site now, and we're going to figure out a plan for really demolition and cleaning, because not a lot's been done, and we're very disappointed in the Biden administration, but we're going to make up for lost time. And I said I'd do that, and this is about the earliest we could possibly be here. And we're honored to be here. This has been a great state. They're great people, and they've really been mishandled. But this group is going to be great, and we're going to get it taken care of. Any questions?
How will you respond?
Do you expect to ask Congress for additional aid for North Carolina and
Yeah,
California?
it will be direct. In other words, the aid will go through us. So rather than going through FEMA, it will go through us. And I think maybe this is a good place to start. Because, and in all fairness to the governor, and all fairness to everybody else, FEMA was not on the ball. And we're going to turn it all around. Yes.
A lot of Americans think that this is symbolic of what your campaign was all about. America first, bringing your priorities to Americans. Even going to California, where their policies might have been one of the biggest reasons why they've had these problems. But you put the American people first. Your thoughts on that?
We are. Well, thank you. I like that question. Boy, I want more questions like that. That's even a statement. Thank you very much. He's a good man, that guy. And he's also a very professional reporter, I have to say. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're putting America first. We're putting, in this case, North Carolina and California. We're going to do a good job in California. That is a disaster like, I don't know if we've ever seen anything like this. They say the biggest in the history of California. I think, has anything bigger than that happened in the whole country ever? It looks like, I don't want to say what it looks like, but you know what I'm going to say. It looks like something hit it. and we won't talk about what hit it, but it is a bad, bad situation. And I guess I'm going to meet with some government officials, but I mean, much more importantly, and in California, just to revert to it for a second, millions of gallons of water are waiting to be poured down through already the half pipes that are already built. I mean, they've been up for 40 years, and about 20 years ago, they turned off the water. And it's the water that comes from the Pacific Northwest. Some of it comes out of Canada, and it flows there, and it probably has flowed there for 1 million years. And they turned it off, and they routed out to the Pacific. And in the meantime, you don't have water in the hydrants, you don't have water in the sprinkler system. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And everyone's trying to figure out why aren't they turning it back. They say it's the Delta smelt, it's a fish, but I find that hard to believe. But
Mr. President, what are you prepared to do?
And without doing that, you're going to continue to have problems.
Mr. President, what are you prepared to do, sir, if OPEC doesn't respond to your call to cut oil prices?
Well, we want to see OPEC cut the price of oil, and that will automatically stop the tragedy that's taking place in Ukraine. It's a butchering tragedy for both sides, by the way. A tremendous number of Russian soldiers are dead, tremendous number of Ukrainian soldiers, and a lot of people are dead from the bombing of the cities. But right now it's just bullets whacking and hitting men, mostly men, almost in all cases men. And then over 1 million men are killed, and they're losing thousands of people a week. It's crazy. It's a crazy war, and it never would have happened if I was president. It would never have happened. This is crazy that it happened, but we want to stop it. Now, one way to stop it quickly is for OPEC to stop making so much money and to drop the price of oil, because they have it nice and high. And if you have it high, that war's not going to end so easily. So OPEC ought to get on the ball, and they ought to drop the price of oil, and that war will stop right away.
Can you withhold funding to Los Angeles because of its sanctuary city policy?
I want to see two things in Los Angeles: voter ID, so that the people have a chance to vote, and I want to see the water be released and come down into Los Angeles and throughout the state. Those are the two things. After that, I will be the greatest president that California has ever seen. I want the water to come down and come down to Los Angeles, and also go out to all the farmland that's barren and dry. You know, they have land that they say is the equivalent of the land in Iowa, which is about as good as there is anywhere on earth. The problem is it's artificial, because they artificially stop the water from going onto the land. So I want two things. I want voter ID for the people of California, and they all want it. Right now you don't have voter ID. People want to have voter identification. You want to have proof of citizenship. Ideally you have one-day voting, but I just want voter ID as a start, and I want the water to be released, and they're going to get a lot of help from the U.S. Thank you very much. We'll see you at the site. We'll see you at the site.
Can you tell us more about the deportation flights? Where are they going from?
It's going very well. Deportation's going very well. We're getting the bad, hard criminals out. These are murderers. These are people that have been as bad as you get, as bad as anybody you've seen. We're taking them out first. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Now, President Trump has also proposed tariffs on China, Mexico, Canada, and Europe as well. What are the impacts of this? Here to discuss is Christian Briggs, economist and CEO at Hard Asset Management. Good morning to you, Christian. So let's first talk about why he's doing this. Do you think the tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China, can they address issues like drug trafficking and illegal migration? Do you think the tariffs will effectively push trading partners, to crack down on fentanyl production and export? What do you think about all this?
Well, that's two questions really there. Let's talk about the economics of the tariffs first. So tariffs is one of the strongest bargaining powers that a country has, especially the size of the United States. We're such a large nation of consumption that the tariffs are critical for leveling the playing field. So when you have artificial devaluation in the yuan, like China's been doing over the last 12, 18 months, trying to create a weaker currency so the dollar goes further there. That way manufacturing in China becomes a lot bigger opportunity for profits. the tariffs have to start to realize in such a way when they're used in a strategic way to level the playing field, okay? So whatever the tariffs are on different products, it could be furniture, solar, it might even be some of the bigger things like the aluminum markets, the steel markets. And what Trump's doing is being very methodical and tactful, but the tariffs are a great bargaining chip. In fact, I think as far as bargaining goes, I think he's going to have a home run on these tariffs once he determines which ones he's going to apply and how much. That's the key. You do not want to get over a certain percentage or you're going to create inflationary pressure on the items that we bring in. But remember one thing on the economic side here. We're seeing a little over $1 trillion in trade deficit. And that money is being used to fund a lot of the Chinese growth in their military. So we're basically building them the strongest military in the region, if not one of the strongest in the world by default, by trying to manufacture our products over there and take advantage of low-cost production. So the tariffs have to be put on there to create a more competitive model in the U.S. and to increase productivity here. Now, your second question, which is a good one about deportation and how that's going to affect fentanyl. The number one product right now being shipped out of China, other than obviously manufactured goods, is fentanyl. It goes from China as a manufacturing hub to Mexico, and then from Mexico, they distribute it back through the border. My understanding is that the cartels are making $1 billion a week profit on drug-related sales, bringing it into the U.S. So China was complicit in absolutely manufacturing it. It was almost like a partnership between China and Mexico. China was manufacturing, and you had cartel was the distributors. And let me tell you something about this, which is very important. The monies that were used and the profits that were made only further the cartel's power hold in both Mexico, Latin America, and pretty much the world. And what Trump's doing is absolutely right. Shut those borders down, stop that fentanyl flow. That'll also stop the profits going back to China. And then when you got the tariffs, it's going to be a home run. He's a smart man.
So you talked about one point I would like to focus on, which is leveling the playing field. So, I mean, do you think the tariffs will protect American industries, potentially leading to a resurgence of domestic manufacturing and job creation? Because, you know, there was some level of debate on this during Trump's first administration.
Yeah, okay. Leveling the playing field is going to take time. There's so much consumption in the United States of products that are made outside. And we're a 70 to 75% of your kind of I wouldn't say every product, obviously, but the vast majority of what we consume is manufactured overseas, China being the largest manufacturing partner that we have. So what Trump's going to do is he's going to look at when China joined the WTO, the World Trade Organization, that's when they blew up. So in order to bring manufacturing back, he's got to look at the various industries that make certain products and try to capitalize on the ones that are going to bring the greatest productivity. We here at my company, we've identified several different areas that if the tariffs were applied, and again, methodically with surgical tactic, and maybe not the 50 or 100% that he had first talked about, because he's kind of walked that back a little bit, which was very smart, that if you applied the certain percentages to certain items, and again, I'm using this as just as a kind of like an example, it could be furniture, solar, aluminum, copper, tin, whatever it may be. But if you do it, yes to your question, we will not only have a resurgence in manufacturing in those areas, but the money spent to manufacture those goods, for every dollar manufactured in the U.S., it reverberates as much as $12 into the economy. Then you all of a sudden have now this brand new underlying GDP growth in an area that could manifest itself into other products being made. So where we may apply tariffs in one area that apply to whatever those products are, the profits or the growth in the domestic economy could proliferate itself into many, many other areas like real estate. It could go into school funding because taxes go up, earnings and real estate. So he has a really good group of people working on this. And again, we've identified areas that tactically done, he can bring back I say overnight, I want to say that, but it may not be quite overnight. But if the American public understands, this takes a little bit of time, it'll seem like it was overnight.
And can you talk to us about the potential benefits and how significant they will be? Because I would assume there will be additional revenue from these tariffs for the U.S.
Oh, there's no question about it. So let's talk about the benefits. So first of all, manufacturing is the bedrock of a middle-class economy. In other words, when you've got these high-paying jobs, whether it's auto, whether it's airlines, China right now is building its own version of Boeing and Airbus because the manufacturing value of making one airplane is in the billions of dollars in the economic benefits, not just directly, but indirectly, where that money proliferates itself through the local economy all the way into the federal levels because of tax that are collected. So let's think about this. If we can get Boeing back on track, and if we can get other industries of that caliber, which we will, I know he will meet with these people because that's the kind of businessman he is. Remember, America is a company that has literally a $28, $29 trillion top line revenue business. So again, tactfully working, the benefits could be at least 1 to 2 points in the GDP in 26, and it actually may even lower inflation. That's the key. You want economic growth and you want it fast, but what you don't want to do is to have to chase inflation. And when Trump said yesterday, we got to lower these rates, he speaks from a place of knowledge. We've got to lower the rates. We got to get home buying. Today, as you know, home buying hit a 30-year low. In other words, the productivity and single-family homes hit a 30-year low. We can't have that. 23% of the economy is real estate related, whether it's commercial, residential, multifamily, and so forth. We have to bring home back, and we have to lower the oil prices back down to about 65, somewhere in that neighborhood, to lower the inflation, because remember, oil affects every single thing that's made or distributed.
All right, Christian, that's our time today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Susan Lucci. You may know me from my many years on television. I never thought about heart disease until I had my own heart event. I felt this slight pressure on my chest, just slight. I thought, oh, it's nothing, it'll go away. I didn't get it. I did not get it. But a few days later, while shopping at a boutique, that pressure returned, much stronger. It felt like an elephant pressing on my chest. I had a 90% blockage in my main artery and a 75% blockage in the adjacent artery. I was rushed into surgery where I received 2 stents in my arteries. Stents developed through research funded by the American Heart Association. Those stents saved my life. That's why I'm in front of you today, asking you to join me in supporting the American Heart Association by becoming a monthly donor. Call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough. Get the next person trained in CPR, the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. I'm so grateful to the American Heart Association. Their research helped save my life. I can enjoy life with my children, my grandchildren, and my friends. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, and your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt that you can wear to show that you are helping save lives. Please, listen to your heart. The only reason I'm here today is because I did. So please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now. Join me as a monthly donor today and help save even more lives. Thank you.
Emeril Lagasse here, and I'm so excited to tell you about my French door air fryer 360. Extra large 26-quart capacity. Cook with up to 70% less calories from fat than deep frying. That's a big deal, my friend. 360 degrees of superheated air gives you fast, even cooking. My 10-in-1 French door air fryer 360s grills, air fries, dehydrates, roasts, bakes, broils, proofs, slow cooks, and toasts. This baby does it all. These French doors are a game changer. Look at how easy that is.
Now, find out how you can try Emeril Lagasse's French Door Air Fryer 360 with 3 cooking tiers, fetch tool, air frying rack, and drip tray in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. Order now and you'll also get Emeril's Air Fryer Favorites recipe book. And we'll automatically upgrade you to our bonus cooking kit free. Plus, find out how you can get free shipping. This offer will not last, so call or click now to order.
You're gonna love it, I guarantee it.
Welcome back. President Trump pardoned him, and now he's speaking out. Ross Ulbricht, the man behind the Silk Road Marketplace, was serving a double life sentence before President Trump set him free.
Last night, Donald Trump granted me a full pardon. I was doing life without parole, and I was locked up for more than 11 years. But he let me out. I'm a free man now. So let it be known that Donald Trump is a man of his word. Thank you so much, President Trump, for giving me this amazing blessing.
Ulbricht ran the dark web platform Silk Road. Users could buy and sell things on it using Bitcoin, including illegal narcotics. He was serving a double life sentence in a high-security Arizona prison. He praised the pardon as a win for the fight for freedom. Ulbricht continued to gain support during his time behind bars, especially from the cryptocurrency and libertarian communities. Trump said he pardoned Ulbricht because of his harsh sentence and to honor Ulbricht's mother and the libertarian movement. Trump had promised to free him last May. ICE reports nearly 540 arrests and the detention of over 370 illegal immigrants in sanctuary cities across the United States. NTD's Daniel Monahan covers this along with the latest on the Laken-Riley Act.
As I just talked about.
White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt shared on X that the Trump administration arrested 538, quote, illegal immigrant criminals, including members of the Venezuelan prison gang Tren de Aragua and individuals convicted of sex crimes against minors. She also highlighted that hundreds of these criminals were deported using military aircraft, calling it the largest massive deportation operation in history with the tagline, "Promises made, promises kept." Meanwhile, ICE agents conducted a raid at a Newark, New Jersey worksite on Thursday. Newark's Mayor Ras Baraka, a strong advocate for sanctuary policies, condemned the operation, claiming it violated citizens' rights. With rising concerns over crimes committed by illegal immigrants, the Laken-Riley Act, aimed at addressing such offenses, is headed to President Trump for signing. The bill was signed by Speaker Mike Johnson on Thursday.
They want us to address the human catastrophe that has come from the broken, wide open border that Biden, Harris, Mayorkas, and the team did for the country. And we are so grateful. We have a new commander-in-chief, a new sheriff in town.
The bill requires the detention of illegal immigrants arrested for burglary, theft, larceny, or shoplifting. It was authored by Congressman Mike Collins.
A young lady, 22 years old, was heinously murdered for no reason, and it shouldn't have happened. The system failed. It failed Laken-Riley.
Laken-Riley was a Georgia college student when she was murdered by an illegal immigrant with a criminal record.
Jose Ibarra was actually cited in New York City for endangering a minor. He picked up his trade, he moved down to Athens, Georgia. A week before he murdered Laken, he was picked up, cited for shoplifting. Now, if the Laken-Riley Act would have been in place, this murder would have never been happened.
With growing action from ICE and the passage of the Laken-Riley Act, the push for stronger immigration laws is materializing under the Trump administration. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
The White House says deportation flights have already taken off. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt posted photos on X of illegal migrants boarding military aircraft. Leavitt wrote in the post, quote, "President Trump is sending a strong and clear message to the entire world. If you illegally enter the United States of America, you will face severe consequences." According to a Department of Homeland Security official, the first flights departed Briggs Army Airfield yesterday. Roughly 75 to 80 Guatemalans were repatriated. The migrants had recently crossed the border and were in Border Patrol custody. Yesterday's flights followed deportations from San Diego and El Paso earlier this week. And more than 80 organizations are planning to voice opposition to Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s nomination to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. The move comes ahead of his Senate confirmation hearing next week. Consumer group Public Citizen and healthcare advocates Protect Our Care are spearheading a letter. They're urging senators to oppose Kennedy, citing concerns over his skepticism about some vaccines. Kennedy insists he doesn't oppose vaccines, but rather wants to make sure they're adequately tested for safety. He says his focus is on addressing chronic diseases. He also wants to break ties between the FDA and the pharmaceutical industry. And he is pushing for reforms like removing fluoride from water systems. President Trump has revoked the security detail of former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Trump says that such protection shouldn't last indefinitely. Trump added there are risks involved in keeping large security details. Trump also ended the security detail of former Iran envoy Brian Hook. This move follows the revocation of protection for former National Security Advisor John Bolton. The three were initially granted protection for being under threat by Iran. Pompeo, Hook, and Bolton were all key figures in Trump's tough stance on Iran. That included the United States withdrawing from the Iran nuclear deal in 2018. The decision has sparked criticism, particularly from Bolton, who says the threat against him remains real. Meanwhile, the Associated Press has said it will start calling North America's tallest mountain Mount McKinley. This is following President Trump's executive order to bring back Denali's previous official name. The AP's Vice President of Standards and Inclusion said yesterday the news agency would follow some of Trump's name changes, but not all of them. In particular, they will not officially call the body of water off the U.S.'s southern coast the Gulf of America. They will continue to use the name Gulf of Mexico, although they will acknowledge Trump's new name, the Gulf of America. Many organizations are pondering the decision to use new names. Google Maps and Apple Maps haven't yet made the changes. In response to a request for comment, National Geographic said it will not talk about individual cases, but a statement on its website says the organization strives to be apolitical, consult multiple authoritative sources, and make individual decisions based on extensive research. And a third term for President Trump, well, that's what Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles is hoping for. He proposed an amendment to the Constitution yesterday, allowing Trump to serve another term in the White House. He says Trump is needed for the country to sustain the, quote, bold leadership our nation so desperately needs. Currently, Trump is barred from running for a third term in the White House by the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution. Trump joked about the prospect of running for a third term before during a meeting with House GOP lawmakers. A Florida woman is back behind bars for drug possession. It's after the drugs were allegedly found in a rather comically misleading bag. The Brevard County Sheriff's Office says Taryn Acri was a passenger in a car that was pulled over by a deputy and a K-9 last weekend. The driver had consented to a vehicle search. Police say the officer found methamphetamine and other drug-related items in a bag belonging to Acri that was labeled, quote, definitely not a bag full of drugs. Acri was arrested, and police say she is a repeat offender. They busted her for possession of meth earlier this month, but bonded out. This time, Acri is being held in jail with no bond.
Shenyun Creations, the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
Whispered across generations, a hidden secret unveils the essence of longevity and vitality, a timeless legend regarding energy and wonder. Rooted in ancient health wisdom, we proudly introduce Pure Tang Black Ginseng, a 100% natural organic energy drink made from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng. It takes 2,260 days and nights from seed to growth, undergoing a meticulous 9-step process of steaming and drying. Black ginseng reaches its full potency, enriched with ginsenoside RG3 and enhanced absorption efficiency. No sugar, no caffeine, no artificial ingredients. Experience the pure, natural power of Pure Tang Black Ginseng. Nourish your body, strengthen your immunity, and boost your energy. To order Pure Tang Black Ginseng, please visit puretang.com.
August was born 3 pounds, 9.8 ounces. When I first saw him, it was like a whole range of emotions, joy, sadness. There's gonna be obstacles. You're gonna feel like, why is it happening to me? And you're gonna realize you're not the only one. There's no perfect way. Your own way will be the perfect way. You're gonna protect it with all your might. Just seeing him happy, it's just joy, you know? I look through his eyes, I can envision like a whole future with him already. To throw the first football to him, give him ice cream for the first time. Oh man, he can smile now. I'm happy because he's advancing in life, you know, he's growing. Being a young dad, it's not giving up, it's shifting. My life is now devoted to his life.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. So if you want to talk to your kids, you have to get it trending.
No, you're doing it wrong.
Let's go.
Can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
Visit talkaboutvaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
Welcome back. President Trump has arrived at Asheville, North Carolina as the state rebuilds from Hurricane Helene. He's now receiving a hurricane briefing. Take a look.
Now I'm here in a position where we can do something, meaning I've been in office for 4 days, and I wanted to come sooner, but actually they had a little problem with getting logistically in here, but I would have been here even sooner. 104 North Carolinians have lost their lives. Is that now a fairly firm number, or are they still finding people? You know, what do you think? They're still finding people? Pretty much okay? It's a lot of people. 104 people lost their lives. 73,000 homes were severely damaged or destroyed. And I'll tell you, I've been to a lot of them, and this was like lots of hurricanes in one. I've never seen such damage done by water. And the water came, it was violent, and it left, and there was like nothing left. It's really pretty amazing. At one point, half of the emergency calls to FEMA went unanswered. That's real bad. FEMA was not doing their job. The city of Asheville went without running water for 2 months. A whistleblower testified that some FEMA employees refused to help people who displayed Trump signs on their property. I think that's true, isn't it? I read that. It's not nice. That's not too nice, is it? But whoever those property people were, thank you very much. Michael, is that true? That's not good, huh? About the property owners you put a Trump sign on and they wouldn't help? FEMA. Earlier this year, FEMA kicked 2,000 North Carolinians out of their temporary housing into below freezing temperatures. What was that all about? You know about that? What happened? Tell me.
We had an incompetent administration under Biden, and we had a disaster, and then we call it the disaster after the disaster. That was the FEMA response.
You had nothing but disaster since then. It doesn't matter at this point. Biden did a bad job. Some residents still don't have hot water, drinking water, or anything else, and many of them don't have quarters. They don't have anything. They got a stipend for what they lost, and we're going to take care of it. This is totally unacceptable, and I'll be taking strong action to get North Carolina the support that you need to quickly recover and rebuild. We're working on it very hard, and I think if Michael Whatley does half as good a job for North Carolina as he did for my campaign, we'll be very happy. Him and Laura were a very powerful team. So you think you can handle it, Michael? I don't know. I'm not sure, Michael. I think this is maybe in many ways easier, okay? Maybe easier. But you're going to lead the team. Do you want to say who the congressmen are that you want to appoint? Do you want to introduce them?
We have Virginia Fox, Chuck Edwards, and Tim Moore, whose districts encompass the area.
And they are the districts that were most severely impacted, right? You were affected then, Virginia?
Yes, lost my own 5
Really? No. I'll also be signing an executive order to begin the process of fundamentally reforming and overhauling FEMA, or maybe getting rid of FEMA. I think, frankly, FEMA is not good. I think when you have a problem like this, I think you want to go and, whether it's a Democrat or Republican governor, you want to use your state to fix it and not waste time calling FEMA. And then FEMA gets here and they don't know the area. They've never been to the area. And they want to give you rules that you've never heard about. They want to bring people that aren't as good as the people you already have. And FEMA's turned out to be a disaster. And you could go back a long way. You could go back to Louisiana. You could go back to some of the things that took place in Texas. It turns out to be the state that ends up doing the work. It just complicates it. I think we're going to recommend that FEMA go away. And we pay directly. We pay a percentage to the state. But the state should fix this. If the state did this from the beginning, it would have been a lot better situation. I think you guys agree with that, right? So I just want to say that Asheville, I know it well. It's a great place, and we're going to have it be a great place again. That was the one that was most severely affected. But North Carolina is going to come back bigger, better, stronger than ever before. And you're going to be very thankful. And you've already seen, I know that it really began 4 days ago, but you've already seen more action than you have in the last 3 months. And we're going to get it together. We're informing the Army Corps of Engineers to get going because you have a lot of river breaks and a lot of areas that you're going to need some pretty big work. And they're on their way. They're going to be working much harder than they've been working in the past, and we're going to take care of it. Any questions from the press of any of the congressmen, governor, anybody?
Sir, are you going to sign an executive order on FEMA, getting rid of it? Can you say more about signing an executive order to get rid of FEMA, please?
FEMA has been a very big disappointment. They cost a tremendous amount of money. It's very bureaucratic, and it's very slow. Other than that, we're very happy with them. Okay, and I think when there's a problem with the state, I think that problem should be taken care of by the state. That's what we have states for. They take care of problems. And a governor can handle something very quickly. You know, one of the things I've noticed, because I've been doing this for a while, and we had a pretty good FEMA, but I also noticed that when they come, they end up in arguments. They're fighting all the time over who does what. It's just not a good system. This system is so beautifully designed over 250 years approximately, you know, and we'll soon be celebrating the 250th year. It's going to be a very big celebration. But it's been designed very well, and we're going to leave it that way. When North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, when everybody knows the governor of Tennessee, I think, everybody. Do you know everybody here, pretty much? I never thought of it, but you're right over the ridge.
Right over the hillside.
So you're here to help. That's great.
The people in this region, including Tennessee, the people of Appalachia, are grateful that you are here and that you haven't forgotten them. And that there are other disasters, but this one was enormous for both North Carolina and Tennessee. So thank you.
You know, I've seen a lot of disasters, and when I came here right after, the day after. And when I came here, I couldn't believe it, actually. I couldn't believe the damage. And I've seen a lot of them. This was more like a tornado than it was what we witnessed. So we're going to get it very much taken care of. Good job. That's nice that you came. And so you call it you're right over the ridge, right, Tennessee?
Over the ridge, yes.
I like Tennessee, too. Let's see, where did I get more votes, Tennessee or North Carolina? I hate to tell you, North Carolina, it was Tennessee.
There's one of the counties in this disaster that had 88% for you. So
88%, yeah. No, the people are just incredible people.
Yeah.
So, do you have any questions, press?
President, you talked about conditions being placed on aid to California, voter ID and the like. Are there any conditions that you're going to put on aid to North Carolina?
We're going to do a lot for North Carolina. You know, they've been very slow. I don't know why it's been so bad. This has been one of the worst I've seen. Katrina, of course, you know, was something that obviously that was a long time ago. That was not good. But this has been very slow. I don't know if that was for political reasons because they lost the state. You know, Biden lost the state. Maybe he felt he doesn't care. Maybe there were other reasons, I don't know, but this has been very slow. By any standard, this has been very slow, and we're gonna make up for lost time.
No conditions, you're going to push for aid.
Well, in California, I have a condition. In California, we want them to have voter ID so the people have a voice, because right now the people don't have a voice because you don't know who's voting, and it's very corrupt. And we also want them to release the water. If they released the water, they wouldn't have had a problem. If they released the water when I told them to, because I told them to do it 7 years ago, if they would have done it, you wouldn't have had the problem that you had. You might not have even had a fire. So, but here I don't have that. It's a different thing. You got hit by a storm. The people are incredible. They worked really well. Franklin was fantastic, and other groups. By the way, other groups came in that were also fantastic, and other states came in. Tennessee and a couple of others came in, and they really helped. That's the way it's supposed to be. No, this is a different kind of a thing.
Mr. President, have you decided how much funding you would allocate for disaster relief in North Carolina?
About what?
Have you decided how much funding you would allocate for disaster relief?
I haven't. I have to see what it is.
Are you disappointed that Senator Schiff hasn't joined you on this trip? It was reported you invited Senator Schiff to join you on this trip, and he was too busy. Are you disappointed?
I don't know. I was told that Schiff was going to travel with us to California. I wasn't thrilled, to be honest with you. And I saw him last night on television. It looks like he got hit with a baseball bat or something. What happened to him? Something happened to him. It looked like he got hit. It looked like he got beat around. But I'll ask Caroline to find out what happened to him. No, if he wanted to come out, I would have done that. But I don't know. Somebody said that he wanted to come on the plane, but I think he's staying back for the votes. There's some pretty good votes going on. Yeah.
Mr. President, what is your timeline for getting rid of FEMA?
For this one? For this one?
You just talked about possibly getting rid of FEMA. What timeline are you looking at, and how would you do that?
Well, we're looking here. Here you're talking about. To start, we're going to start immediately timeline. And to finish, it's going to be a period of time. You know, people are also rebuilding their houses. How long does it take to build a house, right? It takes some time. And I want them to build houses bigger, better, nicer than they had before, so they can have, at least they get something out of this disaster. This was a real disaster. No, timeline will be fast. In terms of infrastructure, I think very fast. I want to thank Elon, because Elon was able to get us communication systems, as you know, Starlink. We had no communication. The first day I got here, I was asked by one of the people, one of the really great representatives, professionals, that is there any way you could get Starlink here, because they had no communication whatsoever. And I called up Elon Musk, and he had, hundreds of units brought here, brought immediately. And it's hard to get. They couldn't get them before. And that made a lot of difference. I think it saved a lot of lives, actually. Yeah. Infrastructure-wise, we'll do it quickly.
Sir, can you just talk about how long you think it might take to get rid of FEMA? What's the timeline on that? If you're going to roll it back?
Yeah, I would say, look, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not really thinking about FEMA right now here. I'm thinking about Michael Whatley, and I'm thinking about the 3 Congress people that you just heard from, and also the other people in Congress, and they'll be working with the governor. They'll be working with the governor, so that's what I see.
Change the subject real quickly. The Laken-Riley Act was signed by Speaker Johnson yesterday. Right. When do you anticipate to sign that in
Well, we're honored by that. Laken-Riley, I was there at the time, and we had a big meeting with the parents right after that horrible thing took place. And we have an act. You all know what that act represents. And it was a bipartisan bill. Many Democrats signed on to it. That's something that is a tribute to Laken, a beautiful young lady who was killed viciously by an illegal alien. And we passed a very powerful bill, and it was just approved, and we'll have a ceremony sometime very shortly. I'll be signing it. In other words, if you're asking, I will definitely be signing it. Okay? Yeah.
Mr. President, the security detail for Anthony Fauci was terminated last night, and I'm wondering if you have any comment on that.
About what?
The security detail for Anthony Fauci was terminated last night, sir. Do you have a comment?
No, I think, when you work for government, at some point your security detail comes off. And, you can't have them forever. So I think it's very standard. If it would be for somebody else, you wouldn't be asking the question. The question is very fair. But, you know, you work for government. We took some off other people, too. But you can't have a security detail for the rest of your life because you worked for government.
For it to be taken off, sir?
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Would you feel partially responsible if something were to happen to, say, Dr. Fauci
No.
or John Bolton?
No. You know, they all made a lot of money. They can hire their own security, too. All the people you're talking about, they can go out. I can give them some good numbers of very good security people. They can hire their own security. They all made a lot of money. Fauci made a lot of money. They all did. So if they, you know, felt that strongly, I think that certainly I would not take responsibility.
Now, North Carolina is a state that relies on trade and manufacturing. Are you going to have an announcement on new tariffs coming soon? Is there a timeline now?
Yeah, the tariffs are going to make our country rich. We're going to be a rich, rich country very soon. Tariffs are going to make it rich, and competence. We have common sense, competence, and tariffs. The word tariff is one of the most beautiful words in the dictionary.
Now, Jonathan Reynolds, the business secretary of the United Kingdom, said that there's an even trade between the U.S. and the UK, so they shouldn't have tariffs. Does trade imbalances or a balanced trade affect tariffs and your decisions?
Yeah, unbalanced and balance, and also deficits. Like with Canada, we lose $200 billion a year with Canada. That's because we allow them to make cars. We allow them to take lumber. We don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their food products because we make the same products right on the other side of the border. It's sort of crazy. So we've just allowed that, you know, bad management has allowed it over the last 4 years in particular to become very imbalanced. And I said I call him Governor Trudeau, but he's Prime Minister Trudeau when he was Prime Minister. I asked him, why would we do that? Why? And he was unable to give me an answer. He said, I don't know. And I said, do you think it's fair that we're paying $200 billion to keep Canada going? And what would happen, I asked him, what would happen if we didn't do that, if we didn't subsidize Canada? He said, we'd be a failed nation. And I said, then you should be a state. Because why are we paying all of that money to Canada when, you know, we could use it ourselves, right? So we take care of their military. You know, we're going to order about 40 Coast Guard big icebreakers, big ones. And all of a sudden, Canada wants a piece of the deal. They say, why are we doing that? I mean, I like doing that if they're a state, but I don't like doing that if they're a nation. Also, they've been very nasty to us on trade. Historically, Canada has been very, very bad to us, very unfair to us on trade. So we'll see how it all works out. I would love to see Canada be the 51st state. The Canadian citizens, if that happened, would get a very big tax cut, tremendous tax cut, because they're very highly taxed. And you wouldn't have to worry about military. You wouldn't have to worry about many of the things. You'd have better health coverage. You'd have much better health coverage. So I think the people of Canada would like it, you know, if it's explained. But just to start off, they'd have a massive tax cut, and they'd have a lot more business because then we'd let business go to Canada routinely, and there'd be no tariffs. You know, if we did that, there'd be no tariffs.
So the United Kingdom might be in a better spot then.
Reverend Franklin Graham has been a great asset to the state. Talk a little bit about the way Samaritan Purse has helped North Carolina.
Yes, once again, the first.
Reverend Franklin Graham has been a big part of Samaritan Purse and their aid to North Carolina. I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, Franklin Graham has been a big asset to the state. His father was a big asset to the state, to the country, both of them. I just think this. I think Franklin and other people that are doing what Franklin have done, but I've known Franklin so long. He was at the inauguration. He made a speech, beautiful prayer. He does a great job, and we made a big donation, and it was money well spent. Sometimes you make donations, it's not well spent. He's done a great job here. He's done a really great job. So I want to thank you. We're going to the site now, and one of the sites, and I think for those that haven't seen it, you won't even believe it, but not enough work was done. We'll get it done fast. And I can speak for the Republican congressman. We're going to knock it out, right? We're going to knock it out. And I think we take it very personally because North Carolina was very unfairly treated. very, very unfairly treated. And it was obvious. It was too obvious. And we're going to make up for lost time. So thank you to the people of North Carolina. Thank you, everybody.
Welcome to NTD News Today. Here are today's top stories. Trump will deliver a virtual address at the annual March for Life. More on what his administration is doing for abortion opponents. Trump is on his first trip since taking office. The president is visiting hurricane-ravaged North Carolina before traveling to Los Angeles to view the damage caused by the wildfires. The Senate will be voting to confirm Trump's nominee for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Hear what Trump has to say about the vote. President Trump calls tariffs on China a tremendous power and speaks about his relationships with Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un. Highlights from the latest interview. A young girl narrowly escapes the Nazi gas chambers thanks to a stolen coat and a recent haircut. Her story as the 80th anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz approaches. At the Australian Open, 10-time champion Novak Djokovic gets booed after exiting with an injury.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
And good afternoon. Today is Friday, January 24th. I'm Don Ma. In just a moment, President Trump will virtually address the annual March for Life rally in Washington, D.C. First, let's hear what Trump had to say about the event when he departed the White House earlier today.
I did a big trip for the March for Life, and we look forward to seeing it. I'm going to be watching it, and J.D. Vance, our vice president, is there, and he's going to be representing us very well, taking place in a little while. And other than being a little bit cold, it's a beautiful day.
Vice President J.D. Vance will attend the event in person. It will be Vance's first public appearance in his new role. Yesterday, the president signed an executive order pardoning 23 pro-life protesters. Some of them were accused of blocking an abortion clinic in Washington, D.C. in 2021. Trump said the protesters were treated unjustly and that what happened to them was disgraceful. Meanwhile, Republicans want to throw out ballots from Helene-damaged areas in North Carolina. They're also challenging a few thousand overseas ballots. In all, 65,000 votes are being challenged, partly due to missing information from registration forms. It's all in an effort by the GOP to overturn a North Carolina Supreme Court election. Democratic Justice Allison Riggs held onto her seat by just 734 votes over her Republican opponent, Judge Jefferson Griffin. There have been 2 recounts so far by state election officials. Republicans have not put forward evidence that voter fraud occurred in the election. The legal battle is likely to go on for months. President Trump is shrugging off Elon Musk's post on X that undercut his AI announcement.
Mr. President, does it bother you that Elon Musk criticized a deal that you made publicly, that he said that he tweeted that?
No, it doesn't. He hates one of the people in the deals.
Have you spoken to him since then?
No, I've spoken to Elon, but I've spoken to all of them, actually. No, look, the people in the deal are very, very smart people. But Elon, one of the people he happens to hate, but I have certain hatreds of people too.
Trump on Tuesday announced a new massive $500 billion AI infrastructure investment between OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank. Shortly after, in a post on X, Musk cast doubt that any of the participating companies had the money to fund the project. Following the post, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman and Musk traded barbs on the platform. Meanwhile, Trump said he's open to hosting at the White House some of the January 6 defendants he pardoned.
I don't know. I'm sure that they probably would like to. I did them something important, but what they did is they were protesting a crooked election. And, I mean, people understand that also. And they were treated very badly. Nobody's been treated like that. So I'd be open to it, certainly. I don't know of anything like that, but I think they're going to meet in some of the congressmen, women.
The Senate will be voting to confirm President Trump's defense nominee Pete Hegseth and DHS nominee Kristi Noem this evening. Here's what Trump said about the vote while he departed the White House earlier today.
Look, whatever it is, he's a good man. I don't know what's going to happen. You never know in those things, but Pete's a very, very good man. I hope he makes it. I hope he makes it. I was very surprised that Collins and Murkowski would do that. And of course, Mitch is always a no vote, I guess. It's Mitch a no vote? How about Mitch? Huh? You what? Let's see what happens.
The Senate is set to vote on Hegseth first around 9 p.m. tonight. Two Republican senators, Susan Collins of Maine and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, voted against Hegseth in a procedural vote earlier afterwards. The Senate will move to a cloture vote on Noem. Her confirmation vote would then be taking place by Sunday morning. And more than 80 organizations are planning to voice opposition to Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s nomination to head the Department of Health and Human Services. The move comes ahead of his Senate confirmation hearing next week. Consumer group Public Citizen and healthcare advocates Protect Our Care are spearheading a letter. They're urging senators to oppose Kennedy, citing concerns over his skepticism about some vaccines. Kennedy insists he doesn't oppose vaccines, but rather wants to make sure they are adequately tested for safety. He says his focus is on addressing chronic diseases. He also wants to break ties between the FDA and the pharmaceutical industry. And he is pushing for reforms like removing fluoride from water systems. President Donald Trump's Commerce Department nominee Howard Lutnick disclosed his financial holdings and assets today ahead of his Senate confirmation hearing. Documents released by the Office of Government Ethics showed Lutnick earned nearly $200 million as CEO of brokerage firm Cantor Fitzgerald. Trump nominated Lutnick to lead his trade and tariff strategy as head of the department. Lutnick also said he would resign from his position as trustee of the Lutnick 2020 Descendants Trust. The nominee also runs brokerage firm BGC Group and is chairman of Newmark Group, a commercial real estate services firm. Lutnick disclosed that he would resign from positions at both companies upon confirmation. The Senate Commerce Committee hearing is scheduled for January 29th. And Trump is visiting Asheville, North Carolina today. The state has been devastated by flooding resulting from Hurricane Helene last fall. Here's the president addressing the media after landing at the airport.
FEMA just hasn't done the job, and we're looking at the whole concept of FEMA. I like, frankly, the concept when North Carolina gets hit, the governor takes care of it. When Florida gets hit, the governor takes care of it, meaning the state takes care of it. To have a group of people come in from an area that don't even know where they're going in order to solve immediately a problem is something that never worked for me. But this is probably one of the best examples of it not working. And there's been some others, like in Louisiana, etc. So we're going to be doing something on FEMA that I think most people agree. The aid will go through us. So rather than going through FEMA, it will go through us. And I think maybe this is a good place to start. Because, and in all fairness to the governor, and in all fairness to everybody else, FEMA was not on the ball. And we're going to turn it all around.
Just ahead of Trump's planned visit to California, 5 new fires erupted in the state. They broke out yesterday in the counties of Los Angeles, San Diego, Ventura, and Riverside. Meanwhile, firefighters are bringing the Hughes fire under control, and Southern California could receive some much-needed rainfall this weekend, and that could pose challenges of its own. Here's the latest.
Fire crews working day and night managed Thursday to contain the Hughes fire to 24%. The fire broke out Wednesday in the Castaic Lake area about 50 miles northeast of Los Angeles. Around 4,000 firefighters worked tirelessly as strong winds and low humidity stoked the blaze. And they could get some help from the weather this weekend. Forecasters predict rain Saturday afternoon through Monday. It will be a huge relief for Southern California, which has been suffering from prolonged drought for months. The National Weather Service said in its weekend forecast the Los Angeles area could receive half an inch of rain. But the fires have destroyed vegetation, making the soil prone to erosion. The rains could wash away that soil and cause dangerous mudslides. The National Weather Service has said the risk is low, but a landslide in the Pacific Palisades earlier this month already damaged a home that managed to survive the fires. Not to mention the toxic ash left behind after the fires burned through neighborhoods. Lead, asbestos, and other harmful substances could be carried by rainwater and find their way to the oceans and other water bodies. Meanwhile, another fire broke out in a remote area of the Otay Mountains Thursday that evening. CAL FIRE said it has scorched around 230 acres and remained completely uncontained. California Governor Gavin Newsom Thursday signed off on a $2.5 billion relief package to help the Los Angeles area recover.
With that, I'm honored, thank you, to sign these two bills appropriating $2.5 billion effective immediately to the communities impacted by these wildfires. Thank you all very much for all your hard work.
It covers response efforts like evacuation and shelter and removal of hazardous waste, as well as funds for local governments to speed up the rebuilding of homes and to help rebuild schools. But a group called Saving California launched a campaign Thursday to remove Newsom as governor. The group's chair told the Epoch Times California can't afford another 2 years of Newsom. They are citing what they describe as gross mismanagement during the fires, as well as high crime rates, a rise in the cost of living, homelessness, and illegal immigration. Newsom's team responded to the campaign, saying Newsom is focused on the fires and marshaling resources for recovery, not politics, while also pointing to multiple failed attempts in the past to remove Newsom from office by the same group. Meanwhile, a reality TV couple is suing the city of Los Angeles after their home in the Pacific Palisades burned down. Heidi Montag and Spencer Pratt rose to stardom on the show The Hills. In their lawsuit filed earlier this week, they and 20 other homeowners blame LA and its water department for water issues that hampered firefighting efforts. Governor Newsom has called for an independent investigation into the LA water utility over issues like hydrants running dry and low water pressure.
Meanwhile, in other parts of the country, a winter storm is bringing freezing temperatures. The National Weather Service has issued winter weather warnings in 6 states, predicting of up to 14 inches of snow in some places. In New York, the Hudson River turned to ice when the mercury dipped to 20 degrees yesterday. Forecasters are also warning of cold weather in Alaska, Montana, Wyoming, Michigan, and North Carolina. The U.S. Postal Service has said severe winter weather is impacting their delivery across large parts of the country. The delays could impact more than 200 million people. Heading to break now. Coming up, how is President Trump planning to use the Alien Enemies Act and related executive orders to address cartel violence and as well as illegal immigration? What are the implications here? We have analysis. President Trump revoked security detail for former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. What drove the move and what critics are saying? President Trump considers tariffs on Chinese imports in response to the flow of fentanyl into the United States. What could that mean for the U.S. economy? More up next.
Discover the ancient secret to vitality and longevity with Puretang Black Ginseng. Crafted from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng, each root is carefully nurtured for over 2,260 days, undergoing a traditional 9-round handcrafted process of steaming and drying to unlock full potency and absorption. Experience pure, natural energy with Puretang Black Ginseng. Order now at puretang.com.
Hi friends, Richard Karn here. Now I'm known as the guy who can fix just about anything, but the technology in most appliances requires very special training to fix. My point is, even I know when I've met my match. And that's why my family has Choice Home Warranty, so we won't get stuck with high-priced repairs.
Choice Home Warranty covers over 25 major home systems and appliances. That's your AC, heating, plumbing, kitchen and laundry appliances, and so much more.
Imagine for less than a cup of coffee a day, Choice Home Warranty can help protect you from expensive major system and appliance breakdowns that your homeowner's insurance doesn't cover. But you have to call now before it's too late.
Every homeowner should have Choice Home Warranty. Your homeowner's insurance is not going to cover your appliances.
Washing machine, dryer, refrigerator, air condition. If I had any issues arise, they were able to take care of it immediately.
Now, homeowners insurance won't protect you when your home's major systems and appliances break down due to normal wear and tear. But Choice Home Warranty will. They can help cover repairs and replacements.
Choice Home Warranty is the best warranty we've ever used. It would save you so much money in the long run.
Hey, I'm not the only one raving about Choice Home Warranty. They were named a Best Home Warranty Company and Best Claim Service by U.S. News 360 Reviews.
Call Choice Home Warranty now and get access to a nationwide network of over 15,000 technicians and the latest appointment setting technology so you'll know when they're on their way.
If I have an issue with an appliance or something around the house, I just call up Choice Home Warranty and I don't have to worry about that.
So, do what this old DIYer did and call Choice Home Warranty now before something breaks down. Tell them I sent you and get your first month free.
Call Choice Home Warranty before it's too late and get protection for your heating, AC, plumbing, kitchen and laundry appliances, and more. Call for your free quote today. Call in the next 5 minutes and get your first month free. 800-360-6782. 800-360-6782.
What has lasted 5,000 years was once almost lost. Now, the world awaits the divine culture's return.
Welcome back. President Trump has revoked the security detail of former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Trump says that such protection shouldn't last indefinitely. Trump added there are risks involved in keeping large security details. Trump also ended the security detail of former Iran envoy Brian Hook. This move follows the revocation of protection for former National Security Advisor John Bolton. The three were initially granted protection for being under threat by Iran. Pompeo, Hook, and Bolton were all key figures in Trump's tough stance on Iran. That included the United States withdrawing from the Iran nuclear deal in 2018. The decision has sparked criticism, particularly from Bolton, who says the threat against him remains real. President Trump said he would rather not impose tariffs on China, but referred to the option as a tremendous power. Trump spoke about his relationship with China's Communist Party leader Xi Jinping and also talked about North Korea's Kim Jong-un speaking on Fox News.
But we have one very big power over China, and that's tariffs. And they don't want them, and I'd rather not have to use it. But it's a tremendous power over China. China gets a lot of its money from the United States. They use that money to build the military. Isn't it crazy? It was a good, friendly conversation. I had a great relationship with him prior to COVID. I had a very good relationship with him. I thought it was a very good conversation. We've had other communication before that. They are a very ambitious country. He's a very ambitious man. He happens to be a smart guy. Kim Jong-un is a smart guy.
Trump said he plans to reach out to the North Korean leader, this after the two men develop a working relationship during Trump's first term. On Russia, the president warned of potential tariffs unless it reaches a settlement with Ukraine. Trump accused Russia of stealing U.S. hypersonic missile plans during the Obama administration, but said the U.S. is now developing super hypersonic missiles. On Iran, Trump called it a dangerous religious situation distinct from China and Russia. But going back to China, Trump said he thinks he can reach a trade deal with the communist nation. Since taking office, Trump has spoken about a 10% punitive duty on Chinese imports. The president says fentanyl is being sent from China to the U.S. via Mexico and Canada. However, he did not immediately impose tariffs as he had promised during his election campaign. Some analysts say the move signals the possibility of a renewed relationship.
So 10% won't really lead to anything outside, any supply chains moving outside of China, partly because China has already done a lot of de-risking in the last 6-7 years because of the trade war. So Chinese supply chains are actually much more resilient than American supply chains at this point.
Coming up after the break, new research in Britain shows foreign nationals are more likely to be arrested than native Brits. Topping arrest charts are Albanians, followed by Afghans and Iraqis at rates far higher than the national average. A young girl narrowly escaped the Nazi gas chambers thanks to a stolen coat and a haircut. Her story as the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz approaches. Stay tuned for that.
Tangazo hili linahusu njaa. Tarajia kuona watoto wakiwa na njaa katika maeneo haya. Mambo yalikuwa bora kwa miaka mingi. Tuliweza kupigana na njaa na watoto wachache walikufa. Lakini sasa mambo yamebadilika na kwa mabaya zaidi. Hii ni kwa sababu wakati huu ukame umeangamiza zaidi.
Через війни та конфлікти ми мусимо залишати наші домівки і всі наші речі. Ми навіть не маємо їжі. Тому нам потрібна ваша допомога.
Millions of children are fighting to survive due to inequality, conflict, poverty, and the climate crisis. Save the Children is working alongside communities to provide a better life for children. And there's a way you can help. Please call or go online to give just $10 a month. Only 33 cents a day. We urgently need 1,000 new monthly donors in the next 30 days to help the children we support around the world. You can help provide food, medicine, care, and protection, plus so much more that a child needs, by calling right now and giving just $10 a month.
Ви можете допомогти голодуючим родинам вижити.
All we need are 1,000 monthly donors in the next 30 days. Please call or go online now with your monthly gift of just $10. Thanks to generous government grants, every dollar you give can have up to 10 times the impact. And when you call with your credit card, we will send you this Save the Children tote bag as a thank you for your support.
Toto kote duniani
потребують вашої допомоги.
Your small monthly donation of just $10 could be the reason a child in crisis survives. Please call or go online to givetosave.org to help save lives.
Baby, you see, you're so right for me, and I am right for you. I love the things you do, like sweet tasting wine. Your lips are so divine. Your loving turns me on. My lonely days are gone. That's why I'm never gonna let you go. Never gonna let you go. Babe, I'm never gonna let you go. No, no, never gonna let you go. Baby, never gonna let you go. Never gonna let you go. Babe, I'm never gonna.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back. The White House says deportation flights have already taken off. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt posted photos on X of illegal immigrants boarding military aircraft. Leavitt wrote in the post, quote, President Trump is sending a strong and clear message to the entire world. If you enter the U.S. illegally, you will face severe consequences. According to a Department of Homeland Security official, the first flights departed Briggs Army Airfield yesterday. Roughly 75 to 80 Guatemalans were repatriated. The migrants had recently crossed the border and were in Border Patrol custody. Yesterday's flights followed deportations from San Diego and El Paso earlier this week. Trump issued a raft of executive orders after taking office on Monday, and that is to aim to clamp down on illegal immigration. The White House spokesperson said that the Trump administration arrested over 500 people yesterday, including members of a Venezuelan prison gang. Here to discuss is Darlene Sanchez, reporter for the Epoch Times. Good to have you, Darlene. What law is President Trump considering that is to use to expedite the deportation of foreign national gangs and cartel members?
Well, what he's looking at in one of his executive orders, what he did was he said that there was, he mentioned this law, 1798 Enemy Aliens Act. And basically it's a 200-year-old law that hasn't been used very often. But I think the significance of it is, and why he's putting it in one of his executive orders, about removing illegal immigrants, is because it allows him to do it very quickly and without a hearing.
And what are the conditions for the Alien Enemies Act to be invoked?
Well, I mean, there's several things. There has to be, one of the criteria is that there needs to be like an invasion. And he has declared that in one of his other executive orders. He said, he is designating the southern border as an invasion. So by doing that, he's kind of opening up the door to being able to use this 200-year-old law. It doesn't mean that he will use it, but he put it in his one of his orders. So he said he may use it. So it could certainly, be a game changer for them, because they're not held up with any type of, hearing, any type of legal procedure. That's just allowed to remove them and detain them.
And maybe you can talk to us about how does this act define individuals who can be detained and expelled?
Yes, well, it's got to do with people that are here, if they're here illegally, or they're from a foreign nation, like a foreign national, then that's part of what it is. And, the law originally started out because there were French here in the United States. This was a colonial era, and they were here and they were agitating for war. So that's when, Congress passed this under John Adams when he was president. And, that would allow him to remove these people, just basically take them before, I guess it would be like a magistrate type situation, and said, you're ordered to leave. So the idea is here that if you're here illegally and you are agitating, you're making some sort of hostile act against the United States, then you can be removed under this law.
Okay, and what about the authority? What authority does the Alien Enemies Act grant the president?
Well, it allows him to, like I said, basically the main thing is it allows him to remove illegal aliens or people or foreign nationals without having to go through the process of a trial. Right now, what happens is they all end up, they could say, hey, this is, and there's lawsuits I'm sure that will be filed if he does indeed use this. But, they can say, I have certain rights, I have to have, due process. But under this act, they do not. So he can invoke it if he feels there is an invasion, and also if he feels like that these are, they can also be called. He's also looking at trying to label these illegal gangs and cartels as terrorist. And if that happens, if some of these, like for example, Tren de Agua, if they end up being designated as a terrorist group under one of these orders, then that would make it, that's the other criteria. He could certainly say that this would be like a foreign adversary doing, harmful acts towards the United States within the United States territory. So, by saying that they're basically like an entity acting in a government capacity to attack the United States, and they're not here, legally, they're foreign nationals, basically. Those two things would really is what allow him to go in there and, use this 200-year-old act.
And on that point, what examples of cartel-related violence or activities threaten U.S. security?
Well, I mean, if you look at it, the argument, what his argument is, they're being, the United States has been invaded. There have been millions of people come across, the southern border. And this would mainly be for the southern border because he declared, a national emergency there as well. So you've got people coming across. They are harming Americans on American soil, these cartels, Tren de Agua, for example, they were holding people, tying people up, beating them, threatening their lives. So this is so you have basically an enemy combatant operating within the United States. And of course, President Trump says that some of these, for example, the Venezuelan gangs, like we just spoke of, the Tren de Agua, that they are basically that the governments of some of these foreign nations are, allowing this, or maybe, working kind of side by side with them. It would be just kind of like the same thing if you think about over in, the Middle East, some of those terrorist groups, designated terrorist groups, are acting on behalf of other foreign nations to attack Israel. So it's kind of the same idea here in the United States.
And just lastly, are there any criticisms against Trump's potential use of this act?
Yes, definitely. I mean, the last time the act was used was during World War II, when there were internment camps for Japanese. And there's been, that was heavily criticized, more so, of course, as time went on. And, obviously there were problems with that. But in this situation, I don't think there's going to be, quote, internment camps. I think there's going to be areas of deportation. I know that, part of what Trump's plan is, and Tom Homan, his border czar, has said they're going to set up basically places where they can take the illegal immigrants and then process them and deport them. So I don't think you're going to see anything like you did in World War II, but that was the criticism of it.
All right, Darlene, thank you very much for shedding light on this issue. Very important. Thank you so much today.
Thank you.
Next, Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba says he will seek to maintain regional security and prepare for tough negotiations with U.S. President Donald Trump.
With the balance of power in the region making a historic change, we must further deepen Japan-U.S. cooperation concretely and ensure the U.S. commitment to the region to prevent any power vacuum from destabilizing it. At the upcoming Japan-U.S. summit meeting, I would like to share my understanding of these security and economic issues with President Trump, confirm further cooperation, and raise the Japan-U.S. alliance to a higher level.
Ishiba has been seeking to meet with Trump since his election victory in November and is arranging a trip to Washington in the coming weeks. Japan's concern about a U.S. retreat from the region comes as the Chinese Communist Party's military becomes more increasingly assertive and as North Korea test fires ballistic missiles. Ishiba also wants to develop frameworks, for example, cooperation with South Korea and the Philippines and the so-called Quad that also includes Australia and India. Ishiba recently visited Indonesia and Malaysia and sent the Japanese foreign minister to China, South Korea, and the Philippines. He said his policy goals also include responses to Japan's population decline, boosting stagnant salaries, reducing the national debt, and his pet project, building disaster resilience. Online fast fashion retailer Shein is telling the UK government that it doesn't allow Chinese cotton in products sold in the US. Shein has been accused of using cotton obtained from forced labor in China's Xinjiang region. The US's Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act prohibits such cotton from being used in products sold in the US. The controversially obtained cotton could still be used in products sold in other countries. The company only said it complies with restrictions in countries that have such laws. The statement from Shein comes as the company seeks to go public in the United Kingdom, and lawmakers are scrutinizing the company's practices before they decide on approval. Next Monday marks the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. Over 1 million people perished in the Nazi death camp, most of them Jews. NTD's Dan Monahan tells us the story of one woman who survived.
The Auschwitz camp was established by Nazi Germany in occupied Poland as part of Hitler's final solution to exterminate European Jews. In 1944, Agnes Darvas was deported from Hungary to Auschwitz. She narrowly escaped being sent straight to the gas chambers with other children, a fate she attributes to a stolen coat and a recent haircut. Her coat had been taken in the ghetto, and her mother had cut off her braids out of fear of lice. The borrowed coat and makeshift hairstyle made her look older to Josef Mengele, Auschwitz's notorious angel of death, who decided who was fit for labor and who was to be killed.
We were in Auschwitz for a few days, luckily, since we did not even have a bunk. Then they made a selection. If they found someone weak, unable to work, they pulled them out and took them to the gas immediately. But then we did not know this yet.
She and her mother were soon sent to the Plazhov camp to work in a quarry with a pickaxe as heavy as she was.
We had to stand in a bathroom all night, as we later learnt, waiting for an order, whether that group was needed for work or would go to the gas chamber.
Darvas says their clothes were stripped away. They had only the shoes in their hands.
From Mauthausen, we got to Groß-Rosen, and there we got lice. And the lice was big trouble. There was a writing in Auschwitz saying, "Ein Laus macht dein Tod." One lice is your death, and it was true.
But the lice was unavoidable. Her hair and clothes were full of them, and she got typhus too. By the time they reached the Bergen-Belsen extermination camp, Darvas could no longer walk. Typhoid and cholera, caught from filthy water, left her only able to crawl.
There was no water there. There was nothing there. The Germans ran around in confusion. They did not know what to do because the front was quite close. Allegedly, the whole Bergen-Belsen was mined because they did not want those huge numbers of dead corpses to be seen. Every second person died there.
British troops liberated Bergen-Belsen on April 15, 1945. Darvas recalls hearing loudspeakers announcing their freedom. Darvas says the camp was littered with piles of dead bodies, a haunting reminder of the horrors endured there. More than 1.1 million people, most of them Jews, perished at Auschwitz. In 1944 alone, 500,000 Hungarian Jews were murdered in Auschwitz and other Nazi extermination camps. This included all 72 members of Agnes Darvas's extended family, her cousins, aunts, and uncles.
People think that if they remember these, then such things will not happen again. But it does happen day by day. Perhaps it happens not to Jews, but some other ethnicity.
As we reflect on the liberation of Auschwitz and the stories of survivors like Agnes Darvas, we are reminded of the importance of memory and vigilance against the forces of hatred and prejudice. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
We're now going to on-the-ground video in Asheville, North Carolina, where President Trump and the First Lady are now meeting with families affected by Hurricane Helene. Take a look.
And it was set up to go there. They said, well, wait a minute, what about North Carolina? They said, well, what would you? I said, I have to stop there first. I'm stopping in North Carolina. So we made the stop, and I feel very good. You're represented by some great people, great congressmen are with us, and we're going to get involved with them. And Michael Whatley is here, who is the head of the Republican Party. He worked with Laura Trump to take us through to a tremendous victory. One of the, as the media says, one of the most consequential presidential elections ever. They say in 129 years, whatever that may mean. But whatever it is, it was a great election we had, and we won your state. All three times we won your state. And all three primaries we won your state. So we won it 6 times, I guess, Mr. Congressman. Huh? And it's a great place, and I wanted to come here. And before I went anywhere, frankly, in the campaign, I promised that I'd come back to Western North Carolina to help the people of the state, and today here I am to deliver on that promise. And we have a lot of things in mind, and we're getting the Army Corps of Engineers all set. You need your riverbanks fixed. You need a lot of roads fixed, and we're going to get it done in rapid time. And I've asked Susie Wiles and all of my people to start calling up, get the Corps ready, and they're going to get ready to go. I don't know what it is. I don't know what took so long for the other administration. But remember, I wasn't here for the first 4 months or 3 months, whatever it may be. See, we can only start as of essentially 1 or 2 days ago, and we've made a lot of progress over the last couple of days, Michael. I understand we're going to get you the resources you need and the support that you deserve, and we'll be at your side through every step of the rebuilding, and no American is going to be left behind. The people that I just met are so great, and the people that own that house is going to be very beautiful in a little while. And who knows, if Franklin decides, maybe he'll rip it down and build him a new one, because sometimes you can do that just as easily, but we're going to take care of the people. I want to thank our great First Lady for coming today. She really wanted to be here. She said, no, I want to go. And, she sees what happened, and she felt very badly, and she wanted to go. And we're then going out together to Los Angeles, but she wanted to be in North Carolina. She saw what happened. She has a feeling like I do for North Carolina. So thanks as well to a great gentleman, Franklin Graham, and his father, Billy Graham. I used to go with my father to Yankee Stadium and places to watch his father preach. And he was some preacher. You got good stock. You come from the ultimate genes, I can tell you. But he was really something. And Franklin, though, has done so much, and his father's looking down on him right now. I guarantee for a long time he's been looking down on Franklin, saying, I'm very proud of you, son. He really is, because what Franklin's done with Samaritan's Purse is incredible. They told me just yesterday that Samaritan's Purse has been great, but the FEMA people sort of left you high and dry, but we're going to change that around. We're not happy with FEMA. As well as all of the representatives. You have great representatives here. Chuck Edwards, who's here someplace. Where's Chuck? Where's Chuck? Chuck. Tim Moore. Tim, thank you, Tim. Great job, too. Both of you guys. Virginia Fox, a power. She's a power, that one. Don't ever have her as your enemy. It's not good. It's not healthy. Pat Harrigan. Good job, Pat. Addison McDowell. These guys were just here, just put in, and they're doing a fantastic job. Addison, thank you very much. Great. Mark Harris. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Brad Knott. Thank you, Brad. Greg Murphy, fantastic guy, my friend for a long time now, right? And the RNC chairman, Michael Whatley, who really, as I said, brought us to a great victory with Lara, the chairman of the party, the whole Republican. I took Michael Whatley from North Carolina because he did the best job and put him in charge of everything, and the job they did together was incredible. Last September, Hurricane Helene became one of the deadliest natural disasters in modern American history. Rainfall rose to far more than 30 inches, which is lethal, unleashing unprecedented devastation throughout western North Carolina and many other states, as you know, but you got hit the hardest. The highest responsibility and deepest obligation of the American government is to protect its people, and that's never truer than in times of emergency like this. Unfortunately, our government failed you, but it wasn't the Trump government. It was a government run by Biden. What a terrible situation. But our government failed the people of North Carolina in this horrible crisis. For 2 months, Asheville lacked running water, and even today, some North Carolinians can't take a hot water shower. They can't drink water. They don't know where to get it. It's delivered to them by some, or they just go out and somehow find some. It's been 4 months since the storm made landfill, and still 180 roads remain closed and in ruins. Earlier this month, the Biden administration kicked 2,000 displaced North Carolinians out of their temporary housing into freezing 20-degree weather. I don't know how they did that one, because it was cold, even while your government provided shelter and housing for illegal aliens from all over the world. But under the Trump administration, the days of betrayal and neglect are over. They are over. As I said in my inaugural address, we restore the integrity, competency, and loyalty of the American government. And I think I said most of it in the inaugural address. We said a lot of things, but one of the groups of people I was thinking about is you in North Carolina. A lot of that was in reference to you and what you've had to suffer. I'm pleased to announce that under our leadership, the federal government will be surging housing solutions to the state that go beyond mere temporary hotel stays that ended up being very short term. The government wouldn't do it any longer, which is ridiculous. We'll marshal all available resources and bring back potable water and make your water and infrastructure dramatically more reliable very quickly. Today, I'll also be signing an executive order slashing all red tape and bureaucratic barriers and permits to ensure the rapid reconstruction of the roads here in western North Carolina. We're going to go through a permitting process that's called no permitting, just get it done. That's the way they built them many years ago, I guarantee you that, right? We will get them back very quickly, and we'll begin the work of fundamentally changing, terminating, or overhauling FEMA. FEMA's been a disaster, no matter where they are. We're honored to be joined today very quickly by several families affected by the vicious storm. I'd like to ask each of them to share their story. Chris and Kim West, you could come forward. Ramona Nix, Jackie Mitchell, and Thomas Gary Bright. And finally, the Wright family. And come on up and maybe say a few words. Please, thank you very much. Hello. Hi. Come on in here.
Whenever it started, we started moving our vehicles to the top of the road, and by the time we got the vehicles moved, the water had already hit our ankles in the house. And so I grabbed my purse and my little pug dog, and my husband grabbed dog food and put it in a trash bag, and by the time we got out into the driveway, it was already waist deep, and there was sticks and that kind of thing. I didn't think I was going to make it, but we did make it out, and we made it to the top of the road, and we were kind of stuck there for hours because we couldn't get out any of the ways because it was flooded all the way around. It took us hours, and we sat there, and finally it receded enough to where we could actually get out. It was probably like close to midnight, and it started like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. We just lost everything that we had. Didn't even have a brush for like 3 days. So. Thank you.
Okay, good. Would you like to say something with that beautiful baby?
So, hey. So when the hurricane storms hit North Carolina, hit our home, my daughter and my wife and I were actually out of town. But unfortunately, my dad was still at home, and my mother was staying at our house with our animals. And the waters got so high that it actually lifted between that and the tornado that came through, or microburst is what they've been calling them, and lifted his home and the house that I grew up in and crashed it into our barn. It took away his business. It took away all of our tools and tractors and everything needed to keep the farm going. And my mother was trapped in the house, and there was no way to escape because the water got so high. The only thing she could do was ride it out and wait till the waters came down. So we've been doing a little bit of battling with our insurance and FEMA. We did have proper insurance with flood insurance and homeowners insurance, but since we had proper insurance, FEMA's not been able to assist us with a whole lot of things. And again, we've been having some issues with trying to get some payout for our insurance in a timely manner. We had to do mold mitigation on our home, which is extremely expensive, before the structural engineer even came out in order to get our flood payout. And to me, that was not really acceptable.
Has the insurance company been responsive or not really?
Not so much. You know, again,
they give you the money they have to give.
I'm hoping so. And we need some assistance with that. We reached out to an attorney.
What's the name of the insurance company?
North Carolina Farm Bureau. Yep. That's what we're after here. So.
People having a problem with the insurance companies generally, different insurance companies, and they're all difficult, or just the one particular one?
I've heard different stories from others, and a lot of folks are
responsive.
And I've heard some good instances of even Farm Bureau themselves, but in my case, you know, they'd send out a third-party adjuster immediately. Well, they wound up firing that third-party adjuster group. He gave us a quote for a much higher estimate than what we received.
He got fired?
And then he got let go. Yeah, he got fired. So then they brought in another third-party adjuster to come in and lowball us. We've not received any kind of, so the flood insurance is our primary insurance, and so there was roof leaks in the home that the inspectors found the adjusters. Well, that contributed. So they neglected us for. Yes. Yep. She's right here. So we made it.
Not exciting, right?
That's right.
How scared were you? Did you think you were going to make it?
No.
You didn't think so?
Nope. Just started praying.
So you were sort of on a boat. Your house became a boat.
It's a big pontoon.
That's some story.
It was a beach house on steps.
I'll bet this guy would like to say something. I can tell.
I was next door to the house, and my son was out of town, so when he came in to Charlotte to my sister's, he called about 2 in the morning because at midnight the water was still in the stream, within the banks. So when he called, the water was coming up, so I started moving vehicles up to about 5:30 in the morning, and she was in the house, and I pulled up to the steps, and I said, hop on the fender and I'll get you out. Well, he built a beach house on stilts, 5 times higher than the floodplain. And she said, well, he said I'd be okay. So I'm staying with the dogs. So I went to higher ground with some vehicles, hers included, and the water covered everything. But I'd already seen it come around both sides of my place. So I got my blind and deaf dog and a bag of valuables and took up off the side of the hill behind my house, and then was heading to the cemetery back there because I knew it was open, because there was trees falling and uprooting. It was raining. It was,
You never saw anything like that?
no, I've been through floods all my life around there. Never nothing. Mm-mm.
But you're okay, right?
Yep. House destroyed.
Well, we're going to help you out. We're going to help you out.
Appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
Anybody else? You guys okay?
Our day that morning began a little taller with some trees falling into our house, which our house is goes back 4 generations, 80 years, and never came close to flooding. And we woke up with trees about 4:30 or 5 in the morning, and our house sits 3/10 of a mile back off the road, and the water, we've had flooding and such in the lake, but nothing like we saw. And like most everybody else, we moved 5 vehicles this far up, lawnmowers and everything else, and the water started coming in the house. And when it got up to about ankle high, we have a loft. I got her up in that and tried to gather what you might want, which was totally random. And then when it made it to the loft and started getting up to about her hips, I built a little makeshift ladder and we got out on our roof. And we spent 4 hours on the roof. I had a little baggie. I did notes on my cell phone to my 2 kids and my 2 grandkids, and something to identify me in case we were lost in it.
Did you think you were going to make it?
No, we're.
Oh, you didn't?
Yeah, we didn't think we were going to make it at all. I mean, our house was 25 feet underwater.
So you didn't think you were going to live?
No, we were watching houses, trailers, bodies coming by us. And we lived in the Azalea Road area in East Asheville, O-Team. Yeah, we watched our garage float by. Yeah. But, we got to a point where it crested about 4 feet up on the roof. We took about 3 or 4 hours for it so we could kind of do everything in reverse and got out in the mud to higher ground. And I got out higher ground up to a subway and got over to her daughter's house, where when she saw that I didn't have her, she lost it. And I was like, she's okay, she's alive. And we tried to make our way back in there and gather things best we could, but found a body right away. There was about 8 bodies in our area that first 2 weeks located. And we were lucky we weren't one of them, and blessed. But like other people, no insurance on flood insurance, so we had to depend on FEMA. They did what they could do, and of course it's not enough. Yeah, that's crazy. But again, we're thankful to be alive, but it's a long haul.
What are you doing now?
Staying in a camper. I've never been, if y'all notice, I'm a big guy. I don't sleep in campers very well. And the first night we spent in the camper, very grateful with the Asheville Dream Center coming through with one. And
Do you still have the land?
oh yeah, it's family land. Yeah, the land, it looks like a beach now. It's sand, but
Can it be built on?
yes,
Do you intend to do that?
yes.
You want to build again?
Yeah, Samaritan's Purse, we're working with them. We're working with people. It's 80 years, 4 generations.
But the house is totally gone?
No, the house is there. It's down to,
gutted it.
they came in and mudded it, but everything in it was completely destroyed. But it's tough. I think we're at a point in Asheville where people's forgot about Asheville, and it's stagnant. Everything is stopped. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you, Jack. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
I'm Pastor Nick's, our church right down the road. We had only purchased in May, and it's a big church. We're a small congregation, and I had people say, what are you going to do with this big building? And I said, only God knows. And we had our dedication, and the storm came the next week. And the outpouring of people, my son brought the first load of supplies, and from there, I stayed there for about 3 months. I slept on the floor for about 3 weeks because the need was so great. The people were so devastated, and I said, I want to be here for them. And they were coming in just day and night, so there's really no need for me to go home. But we had people from Kentucky, Tennessee, Texas, Indiana, Oklahoma, people from all over. We have not received any help, like from the government or anything. But I said, Lord, if you want us to do that, people.
So they came from
all over the states.
But FEMA did nothing.
It was
FEMA's waste of time and money.
The locals and the people that knew us. And before the week was over, our church was so packed with supplies we couldn't even walk. Even in our sanctuary, it was up to the platform of things, and in our halls and in our rooms, and we're just now beginning to get a little straightened out. But somebody said, how long are you going to be here? I said, I'm going to be here through the winter and even on, if possible, because when you meet people that's been through the struggle, I had a little lady come up, and I said, can we do anything special for you? And she said, I don't want to be selfish, but said, could I have a cup of coffee? And I handed her that coffee, and she stood there, and tears just poured. She said, you don't realize how important that the little things, it's not the big things in life that we have, but it's the little things, and knowing that God is our source. I don't look to man. I don't have to have a lot of things. I had trees, about 20 trees down in my yard, but that didn't really matter. Doesn't matter, because the needs of the people is what I want to be there for. God is good. He's very good. And my daughter now, her house is really in bad shape, and I'll let her tell you about that. But thank you, President. This is our president. We appreciate you so much.
I live out in the Fairview area of North Carolina, and near the Bat Cave, Lake Lure area. And our area was hit. It was hit really hard. I was home alone, and my husband had stayed in town because we take care of a little lady that's 98 years old, and she lives out in the woods by herself. And I said, just stay with her and make sure that she's okay. And I got up the next morning, and my first thought was, I want to go see what our road and bridge looks like. So as I was making it down to the road and the bridge, there was no road and bridge. And so, here we are, we're like at a little island, we can't access the main road or anything. And then the fire department came by the next day and said that they were evacuating me and my neighbor because a landslide was going to come. And they told me to get my stuff and get ready. And so while I was getting my stuff and getting ready, there was a knock at the door, so I thought it was the fireman. And I went to the door, and there stood my 21-year-old son. His name's Nathan, and he had drove as far as he could to get to me, but he hiked 5 miles, and it took him a really long time. And he got there, and he said, "Mom, grab a bag, we gotta go." And I said, "Son, there's no way I can hike out of here." And he's like, "No," he said, "we gotta go." So we started hiking out, and I seen one of my neighbors who, she had no clothes on. Her skin was like chunked up. It was just, she was blue. She had been in the waters, and where she had went or I don't know, but horrific is just all I can say. But then as me and my son hiked on out, we went through where this place, we call it Craigtown, but there were like a lot of family members there that passed away, like 11 of them, and there were people out everywhere looking for their loved ones, and there were dead bodies. My son's like, "Mom, you're gonna see things you don't want to see," and so anyway, we got through all that. But I stayed at our church in our sound booth. My husband and I, we just slept up in the sound booth for a couple of months because we didn't have power or anything for about 2 months out there. And then we went back. I've been fighting with FEMA since day one. Our community, there's like 32 homes. We don't have a road and a bridge. We're driving through our neighbor's property. I went to EMS and I said, "Look, my concern is if we have a fire or we have an emergency out here, you're not going to get to us. You can't get those big trucks up here." And I've called and called and called FEMA, and I said, this happened on September 27th. That's 4 months ago. Well, for us today is still September 27th. We haven't had help. And so when I talk to FEMA, I'm explaining the road and the bridge, and they send me a letter that tells me to basically fix it and send in my receipts, and they'll refund me some money. I'm looking at a road and bridge that honestly, the bridge itself is probably going to be $300,000, and the road could be close to that also, because the community has to have big boulders brought in. We're not a rich community. We can't fix it ourselves. It's just, and as far as like house repairs, I'm still pending. I can't get money from FEMA until I fix the road and bridge and send in my proof that it's fixed and everything. It's been a nightmare, and I totally feel like that we have been forgotten. If it had not been for our fellow American citizens who stepped up to help us, I don't know what we would have done. I have 5 neighbors around me who completely lost everything. I have damage to my house, and I don't feel entitled. I'm embarrassed to even say I need help, because, and sometimes there's even that survivor's guilt is what they're calling it, but you feel guilty to even be alive sometimes. When you look around, you see your neighbors that are gone, and it's just, we need help. I wrote a letter to send to Congress. I don't understand what's going on. If we can't get FEMA help, then will you guys help us? Will you step up and be our fellow citizen? Will you step up and be our neighbor and send us something? Help us get our community back. I could go on. It's just I don't know, it's just heartbreaking. I appreciate you.
Good daughter you have, huh? Good daughter. Take care of Mom. And your son must be great.
My son is great.
No, he sounds like a real leader and smart.
He really is. Hike
How
in.
would you have been if he didn't come and get you?
I don't know. I'd just would have been there because the only thing we could do, there was no way to get out there. The only thing we could do is just hike up to the church, the first church that was up there, about 3 miles, to get, maybe what we needed or something. I don't know. He is. Thank you.
Well, again, thank you very much, everybody. So we're going to be here. We're going to be working with our congressmen and women, and they're going to do a job. And Michael Whatley is going to be very much in charge, and you'll get it done. And FEMA's ready to rock. They haven't done the job because they weren't really told to do the job by Biden. I guess Biden was thinking about other things, wasn't he? But they weren't told. What they did, what the past administration did to North Carolina is a disgrace. So I just want to wish you all well. I was here right after the event, and I couldn't believe it. I have never seen anything like it. I've seen a lot of bad things, but I've never seen anything like it. And it's an honor to meet the people behind me, and it's an honor to be with our congressional delegation and some of the other politicians in the area. And it's an honor to have Michael Whatley at my side, because maybe we wouldn't be standing here as president if he wasn't. Him and Laura Trump were unbelievable as the head of the Republican Party. So he happens to come from a place called North Carolina. So I said, Michael, fix it. So good luck. Good luck. And we'll supply what you need. You know that. Okay? Thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much.
Heartbreaking stories, and how there's been so many local groups stepped up to assist these families.
That's one of the things you hear.
Any talk on having money instead of going to FEMA and going through the bureaucracy to go to them?
That's what I want to do. We want to bring it locally so that a state takes care of its problem, and then they can bring it down to a local level, like Samaritan's Purse and Franklin, because that's one of the better examples. But you had numbers of people that did a great job. You have groups that did a great job and organizations. The one that didn't do a good job was the government. They did a bad job. They did, in many ways, they did no job. They weren't even available. So, good question. The answer is we go local. I think it'll work much better. FEMA is a very expensive organization that really doesn't work out very well. It hasn't. This is not the only example. So it was up to me right now. It ended right now, and I just let the state take care of the problem. I mean, you can always have problems. Let the state, if it's Florida, it's a hurricane, let Florida take care of it. They don't need FEMA to come in. Yeah?
Outside of FEMA?
Yeah, I envision a very important role for him. It's any role he wants. He's a very capable guy, Michael Whatley, a very capable guy, and he's friends and works with these guys, keeps them elected, right? They have to do a good job. Otherwise, no matter how good Michael is, not going to work. But they've done an amazing job. They've been great. You're lucky you have great congressmen here, and woman, by the way, a great woman, very powerful woman. And they're going to do a great job. They'll do it together. They'll work together, and we'll supply what they need as they need it. We'll coordinate that, and we will immediately get the Army Corps, Michael, because you need roads built. You know, we're talking about the bridge. We're talking about roads and things. So we got to get them built, all right? Okay? Thank you all very much. Thank you very much.
All right. Everybody watch your wires.
Shenyun Creations, the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
Looking for a healthy and smooth-tasting brew? Drop by Days Coffee Roasters today and explore our wide selection of specialty-grade, small-batch roasted coffee. home to North America's first enzyme-fermented coffee. We source a wide selection of specialty-grade coffee beans from around the world, and our baristas are ready to craft your customized brew. Visit Days Coffee at 28 North Street, Middletown, New York. Come experience a brew like no other.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that we're making it through. My employees and I want to thank you for your continued support by extending our wholesale prices on classic MyPillows. Get standard classic MyPillows only $14.98. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.98. But it gets even better. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.98. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows $29.98 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including my standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.98, Kings only $1 more. Not only that, order $75 or more, ship absolutely free. From all of us here at MyPillow, thanks America!
Kids love it. Parents trust it. Obviously. Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Gone Campus courses led by expert educators. This is spectacular. Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more. Wow. All while having fun. Perfect. Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
Welcome back, and now for your sports news, we're joined by NTD's Dave Martin. Dave, a lot going on right now, so let's not waste any time here. Starting with tennis here, as Novak Djokovic was booed last night, and this is after retiring from a match due to injury. What happened?
Yeah, I don't think fans realize Djokovic actually was injured in his last match against Carlos Alcaraz. So he did have his leg wrapped in this match. Now, he had a muscle tear in his leg, and after dropping the first set 7-6, that was actually a long set, took 81 minutes. He conceded the match to Djokovic, and that's when the booing happened. And he said afterward the pain had just gotten worse and worse. He couldn't take it anymore. So now we have second-ranked Alexander Zverev will face top-ranked Jannik Sinner for the Australian Open title. Back to Djokovic. That's actually now 5 majors in a row that he has not won. That's actually his longest drought since 2010. The next major, the French Open, he'll be 38 years old. That was actually Nadal's age when he retired this past year. That was just a year younger than when Roger Federer played his final Grand Slam match. Now, if Djokovic retires actually right now, he's hands down the greatest player of all time, hypothetically speaking. It just would be cool to see if he can win one more Grand Slam, because he's been superhuman for so long. So hopefully we still see that.
And as well, Dave, breaking news from this morning as multiple outlets are reporting that the Las Vegas Raiders will hire Pete Carroll to be their head coach. What do you make of this?
I'm actually surprised no one else tried to hire him. I mean, he was Seattle's coach for 14 years, led him to a Super Bowl win, 10 playoff appearances there. He also won a national championship at USC. He's only one of 3 coaches that has won a Super Bowl as well as an NCAA title. His specialty is really defense. I mean, he was previously a defensive coordinator, but he's also been very good with quarterbacks, What he did with Geno Smith in Seattle was incredible. The guy had been kind of a career backup for a number of seasons. As soon as they lost Russell Wilson, though, he turned Geno Smith into a Pro Bowl player. Pretty incredible. So anyway, if this report is true, and there's been no announcement from the Raiders did very well to get him.
And looking at the NFL playoffs this weekend, we have a pair of conference championships games with Philadelphia hosting Washington and Buffalo at Kansas City. Who do you like in these games?
Well, I picked against the Commanders last week at Detroit. Most everybody did, and we all looked silly because of it. I mean, Washington beat them, 45-31. They looked great. They forced 5 turnovers. Jaden Daniels was really incredible. Did not really make any mistakes. For a rookie quarterback, that's pretty amazing. The team played so loose. I mean, I hate to pick them again this week, but the Eagles also know them very well. This will be the 3rd time they've played this season. They split the first 2. It's going to be in Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia wins. Now, in the other one, I'm saying the Chiefs are not going to win the 3rd straight Super Bowl. No one has ever done that, and the Chiefs has been very fortunate this year to have such a dominant record without really dominating play. Now, the Bills beat them earlier this year, though they have yet to solve them in the playoffs recently. They're 0-3 against them in the last 4 years. I think they get the job done this time, although I think it's going to be a very close game. Hopefully a very back-and-forth battle. Now, that's going to be in Kansas City. That'll be the later game this Sunday, starting at 6:30.
You're going to be watching this game?
I'm definitely going to be watching this.
How are you going to be watching it?
I don't know yet. I assume we'll have to get together for this one, right?
Are you going to do a host watching party?
Probably not. I'm hoping somebody else will host and I can go over there and have some fun there.
Well, we got to wait for Steph to come back.
Yeah, right? We didn't get together with her, so the 3 of us will watch this game maybe. Or maybe we'll have to watch the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl.
She'll be back for that, hopefully.
All right. It's a deal. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Don.
Are you over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days? I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. Call now for this free book on maximizing your income in retirement. Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers from one of the nation's leading financial firms. That's right, free. This book reveals little-known truths about annuities in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now, because we're about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known truths we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity, and it's free. Call 800-360-0943. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report. We researched numerous products and summarized rates and benefits of annuities, all from Silac Insurance Company. Call 800-360-0943. That's 800-360-0943. Call now.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that we're making it through. My employees and I want to thank you for your continued support by extending our wholesale prices on classic MyPillows. Get standard classic MyPillows only $14.98. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.98. But it gets even better. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.98. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows $29.98 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including my standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.98, Kings only $1 more. Not only that, order $75 or more, ship absolutely free.
From all of us here at MyPillow, thanks America!
My name's Stacy, I'm 57, and I was adopted in 2020.
We were adopted in 2019.
And we were adopted in 2021.
We had a house, and it sounds crazy, but it wasn't a home. The one thing that Jake and Emma brought is it became a home.
When I met Dakota, he had just turned 14.
You weren't there for the first this and the first that. I missed the first words, but we got a lot of other firsts.
Watching her say, oh my God, I cannot believe I got my license. And she's like, I passed. And I'm like, girl.
See them grow. It is.
They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
You and you.
Kids in the middle.
What I thought was a complete life was nowhere near complete. But it is now.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
Welcome back. New data shows foreign nationals in the UK are more likely to be arrested than native Brits. Research found Albanians top the arrest list by a long way, followed by Afghans and Iraqis. It comes after the Prime Minister last year called mass immigration an open border experiment that happened by design. NTD's international correspondent Malcolm Hudson has more for us.
Are foreign nationals more likely to commit crime in Britain than native Brits? New research by British think tank the Centre for Migration Control suggests this. They sent freedom of information requests to all UK police forces and found that 131,000 foreign national arrests took place in England and Wales in the first 10 months of 2024. That's 16% of the total number of arrests, despite representing just 9% of the population. Research Director Robert Bates explained.
So our research found that foreign nationals in the UK are 2 times more likely to fall foul of the law and to be arrested than a British national. If you look at only sexual offences, we're looking at 3 times the British average.
Here are the top arrest rates in England and Wales in the first 10 months of 2024. 210 arrests for every 1,000 Albanians in the country, nearly twice as high as the next group, Afghans at 107 arrests, Iraqis at 93, and Algerians and Congolese both at 73. Compare that to the top figure, the overall national average of 12 arrests for every 1,000 members of the population. According to the data, there are 48 nationalities that have an arrest rate higher than the national average. Bates said a discussion is needed on the cultural differences between the UK and countries on the higher end of this list.
Higher up the list, I think the first 20, if you look at the list on total, are nations that you would consider culturally distant from the UK, coming from a place of society, a view of society that is hugely different to the way we approach it in the UK. So I think we need to have a discussion really about the immigration system that we have, the types of people that we're letting in.
The analysis comes after Prime Minister Keir Starmer last November accused the previous government of a one-nation experiment in open borders. This followed data showing nearly 1 million people came to Britain in the year ending June 2023.
This happened by design, not accident. Policies were reformed deliberately to liberalise immigration.
Bates said there is a data black hole for immigration-related information.
So unfortunately, policymakers, decision makers have been far too happy for too many years to coast on the idea that immigration is a universal good, and therefore they've not been prepared to collect any data to prove that or to disprove that. They've not been prepared to track crime rates, they've not been prepared to track benefit claimant rates, they've not been prepared to track PAYE, income tax and VAT and local council fees and things like that.
Bates says the British public should be provided with this information and calls for reform of the immigration system as well as tougher deportation measures for immigrants who commit crimes. Malcolm Hudson, NTD News.
Now let's talk about the source of one of the fiercest debates in the culinary world, pineapple on pizza. So one pizzeria in the English city of Norwich is declaring war on the controversial topping. They're charging £100 over $120 for a Hawaiian pizza to discourage customers. Take a look.
An English pizzeria in Norwich City has declared a war on pineapples. The owners are so revolted by the topping that they're charging customers $123 for a Hawaiian. The delivery menu says, yeah, for £100 you can have it. Order the champagne too. Go on, you monster. Lupa Pizza co-owner Francis Wolfe said this protest against the ham and pineapple pizza, which has made headlines, started as a joke.
We very much, I would say vehemently, dislike pineapple on pizza. I mean, we feel like it doesn't suit pizza at all, and we're not really sure why it's a thing. If people really, really want it, then they should stick their hands in their pockets and fork out 100 quid for it.
Fellow co-owner and head chef Quinn Gianoran hopes someone will buy it.
Well, we have a security jar, which is locked away, far, far away, of tinned pineapple, if someone does order the £100 pizza. And we haven't sold any yet, for obvious reasons.
A 2024 survey by pollsters YouGov showed that over 50% of Britons like pineapple on pizza, while 16% disliked it and nearly 20% hated it. And as pizza has become popular globally, foreign innovations in toppings have often left Italians perplexed and aghast. Ivan Triola is an Italian customer at Lupa.
I would never pay £100 for any pizza ever, to be honest, but especially not for pineapple and pizza. I'm also actually Italian, from Naples, and we would never do that, to be honest.
However, customers were divided, with some saying they weren't against the topping, just on this occasion, the price.
Well, it looks like he really dislikes his Hawaiian pizza and making a statement there. If you have any feedback, please email us. Have a great weekend. That's the show today.